6:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Last night, the basket Vols returned to their winning ways on Rocky Top.
Bradley going to the basket, puts the shot up, too late. It's over, and the Tennessee Volunteers have knocked off the number one team in the country. The Tide topples tonight as the Volunteers knock off Alabama.
Zakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi each scored 15 points as number 10 Tennessee defeated Alabama 68-59. The Vols handed the Tide their first conference loss of the season. They also forced Bama into 19 turnovers. Alabama's loss was the 8th by an AP number one team this season. Also last night, Belmont crushed Evansville 95-63. Former Titans head coach Ken Wisenhunt has joined Alabama's staff as a special assistant to head coach Nick Saban. And Jags wide receiver Calvin Ridley has applied to the NFL to be reinstated from his indefinite suspension for gambling. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, and it doesn't matter if it's a Tennessee Saturday night or a Tennessee Wednesday night. The Tennessee thing is beating Alabama.
It is beating Alabama.
Alongside 11-year NFL veteran and Vol for life, Ramon Foster.
Yeah.
Kayla Anderson with a very well-deserved day off this morning. And Jonathan Schaefer, the best producer in the world, who's got to put up with us, just the two of us, for 4 hours today.
The best producer in the world! You know, there's people in the building that say, you guys keeping Schaefer in line? And I'm like, oh, this guy's got a reputation around here.
And I'm Will Bowling.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you want to know my reputation?
What's that?
The best producer in the world! The world, Craig. The world.
I kind of thought he was going to play the John Cena drop right there, honestly.
I did.
No, but you were expecting it.
See? That's
You
why
can't see him and you can't expect him.
Again?
His name is Wilbur.
I really didn't expect him to give you what you wanted, Will. Did not, man.
Yeah, but Arsenal lost, so I'm in a good mood.
Every now and then I get what I want. Every now and then. It's okay. He has as many.
Oh, my gosh.
Alabama has as many revenue wins over Tennessee as Tottenham had over Arsenal this year.
All right, here's the thing. I know my team sucks. It doesn't bother me.
You sound
I know,
like a Browns fan
but if
What
you
right
makes
now.
me happy is that your joy was taken from you yesterday.
Yeah, but
I enjoyed that.
But I get my joy back talking about the smallest team in London. What a win for. What did you say?
Smallest worst team, too?
Well, small, that's just like a soccer phrase for like worst.
It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of what we say is nonsense.
Okay. I mean, that's what we get paid to do, right?
Shh, don't tell anybody that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can't give away that secret.
Money.
Of all the days for Kayla not to be here to slow us down a little bit, slow our roll a little bit.
What?
Yeah.
Slow you down.
Slow our
Slow you
roll,
down.
slow our orange tinted glasses roll today.
Yeah, I usually give a side eye to see how Vol-ish we're getting.
All right.
What?
Ramon.
Yeah.
Hey, Ramon.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
Already got the hat in hand.
Ramon.
The palm is next, okay?
Will.
Yes.
I'm down.
Yeah. Rocket top. Yes, you do. On a Wednesday, on a Saturday, the third Saturday in October, and the third Wednesday in February, too. I hope I was correct on that. I saw that on social media.
You were correct.
I am correct on that?
Yeah.
Take that, Bama.
You've never let facts get in the way of a good story.
You really haven't.
Can I add one thing to that real quickly as a person who is like Keith Bullock?
I'm a VAA. I'm one of those that thinks the Vols are all right.
I'm glad they didn't storm the court.
Oh, me too.
I'm really glad they didn't storm the court.
I never thought they would.
I didn't either.
I wasn't sure. I didn't think so, but I'm glad they didn't, considering they were the number 2 team in the country just a few weeks ago. So I'm glad they didn't.
Given where the student section is there, it's actually hard to.
You think so? It is?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's never stopped y'all from being
Well, no,
degenerates.
but I
it
actually
hasn't.
think it would in this circumstance because you have one little staircase on like the corner of the student section, like one of the corners.
Yeah.
And you'd have to hop over a big fence that like
Will,
has a big. No, I'm serious. There's a
Y'all
reason why it
threw
hasn't happened.
goalposts into a river.
See, but that's happened before. Like in the current setup of the student section, they haven't rushed the floor. Not in a really long time.
Yeah.
Not since what, Florida in like 07 or
07,
I
yeah.
wanna say.
They've made it fine proof is basically what they've done.
Yeah.
You threw the goalpost into the river.
So if they had a storm the court, like how big of a fine would they have been this time? Because don't it just
250,000.
200.
Oh, I thought it might have bumped it up to $500,000.
I don't think so. I know Vandy just got 250,000 last week
They did?
for their processional onto the field after the Florida game and then storming the court after the Tennessee
Let
game.
them have their joy.
No, I'm not.
I just realized what he said.
Yeah.
You know, this is where he's at today, huh, Shafe?
Yeah, I wasn't looking forward to it.
Well, we both
That's exactly
were.
why I was surprised that you gave me what I wanted earlier in the show. Early in the show.
That's because you had a scar the other day, though, too. So that's earlier.
It's because it's
Yours
about the broadcast above all else. That's why.
always is.
Aw.
Always is, man.
I accept.
You know what? He really didn't give it, but you took it.
I did.
Oh, there we go.
Heck of a way to break out of a slump for a Tennessee team that desperately needed a big moment and needed to kick back into gear.
Yeah.
Doing so without Julian Phillips and Josiah Jordan-James, who you could make the argument are two of the 3 or 4 most talented players on this entire team, makes this win much more impressive for Tennessee.
And truthfully too, like this is a team that needed a win in which nobody actually thought they would. I thought ESPN graphics, whatever they had yesterday, the probability of winning, I just thought it was clickbait. And you said
Wait,
this.
did you almost say that you thought nobody thought Tennessee was going to win this? Because I thought Tennessee had a really good chance at
I
winning
didn't
this.
think because Josiah Jordan-James was out and Jordan Phillips.
And yes,
too.
they were missing
And
2 starters, but I still liked their chance at winning.
I did too. I just didn't think we were good enough because Brandon Miller, you hear me, is that good. Bama is
He's that
that
guy.
good of a team.
Right.
Like Brandon Miller is that guy, right, Will? Like all the way around it. Shafe, me personally, I looked at the game. I said, man, I hope they don't get blown out because Alabama had been on the tear.
I
in a
never
sense.
thought they were going to get blown out. Never thought that.
But then this is also the other part of it that bothered me too. The last 2 games, or you losing 2 buzzer beaters like that, like it can really, really take you to the deep end as far as performance.
Here's
I think you can go with that, right?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Here was my take on that. I would have thought that more if it wasn't for the way they rallied in the second half against Missouri.
Oh, that actually gave you hope?
Yes, because
You too?
I thought when they were down 17 to Missouri, that 16 or 17,
Yeah.
that was the moment where everything could have come completely untangled.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they mounted up.
Yeah.
They weren't able to get the win, but they came back. And yesterday, they were able to take a lead late into the game and put the game away.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge win in so many ways yesterday, which is not a big hot take. But I think in terms of the psyche, I think in terms of momentum, I think in terms of the program this year, it's a big-time win. And it gets them back on track, especially doing it without 2 major important players on the roster playing last night.
I got a bone to pick with one of those players, man.
Tennessee or Alabama?
Tennessee's, man.
Okay.
And everybody's asking of this guy. You know where I'm about to go.
I don't think I do.
Tyreek Key.
Yeah.
Be him.
Well,
It seemed like all of his teammates are asking for him to take over. It seemed like if there's a takeover guy, it's him, Will. And you saw Barnes, I'm sure, like scold him for passing the ball to Euros. And I'm just like, yeah, because that's an easy NBA shot if that's his aspirations, right? Like that's an easy NBA shot if that's his. Like he got to show if he's not going to be Stephen Curry from the 3-point line all the time. Like, you got to make the mid-range for me. And he passes it so much. And I don't know if it's because he's a transfer or whatever the case may be for him, but that bothers me with him, Will.
I think last night it's because they just weren't going in. But I tweeted it at halftime. I still want to see him take those shots even if they aren't going in.
And his teammates do.
Because odds are they're going to go in, especially with Josiah Jordan-James and Julian Phillips out.
Yeah.
And I think specifically that's what actually makes this a much more impressive win just based off the nature of the matchup against Brandon Miller. from Nashville, Tennessee, from Cane Ridge High School.
Cane Ridge.
The fact that Josiah Jordan James' assignment would have been Brandon Miller. Julian Phillips' assignment would have been Brandon Miller. So you take away two guys whose defensive responsibilities in that game would have been the best player in the country, and then you put in a guy who didn't score a point in Jemai Meshack, whose job the entire game was just to shadow that guy and make his life a living hell.
He did.
And he did.
He did.
We're going to have Grant Ramey on the show at 8:20. I want to ask him if there's ever been a player with 0 points who's ever had a bigger impact on the game than what Jemai Meshack had in that game last night.
3 total rebounds, too. You know what I'm saying? But on the other side of this, 3 steals. That's contributing to his defense. So, right, well, I ain't going to say the cool thing because if it works against you, but it was working for both sides yesterday. They did let these two teams play it out. I don't know if it's because it's later in the season. They're just saying, hey, go at it. I know it's tight in this building and tight around your league. They played rough, even to a disadvantage to Tennessee, and I know for a disadvantage for Alabama last night, too. There were some calls I was just like, ooh, we got away with one. I could admit that last night, but it happened on both ends of it. It definitely happened on both ends.
615-737-1045 is our number, and coming up this morning, lots to discuss with Trey Smith, VFL, who was rocking the 0 Sacks T-shirt yesterday in Kansas City at his parade.
It was hype, man.
It's a good look. Coach Mack at 7:20. We're going to continue with our NFL draft position previews.
Wow.
We talked with quarterbacks yesterday with Rhett Bryan.
Yeah.
Today we go into the film room with Coach Mack on those QBs. We'll go position by position leading up to the draft and get their insight on some of the guys that are headed to the NFL Combine coming up in a couple of weeks. Grant Ramey, like we mentioned, VolQuest.com will join us at 8:20, and perhaps a week too late to gloat at us, Jim Wyatt at 9:20 this morning.
Well, I may give him about 5 seconds.
Feel a little bit happier.
Okay.
A week after talking to him. No, I'm always happy to talk with Jim Wyatt. He'll join us an hour 4 this morning. Hit the Titans headlines with him. He was able to speak to a lot of people out in Phoenix at the Super Bowl about Rand Carthon. Interested to see the takeaways from those conversations and what he's been able to hear about the new hires the Titans have made. But coming up next, our conversation with VFL Trey Smith on trash talking for this Tennessee team, on maybe a little bit of spite still about not getting drafted by the Tennessee Titans, and about a Super Bowl ring in his second year in the National Football League. That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Window Nation, and Window Nation has the coolest deal ever for keeping you warm, where you pay 0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. That's 2 years, not 20 years, not at all. They're not giving that sweet deal. With no interest, though. Plus, get 2 free windows with every 2 you buy with no limit. Take advantage of Window Nation's deep discounts, all while reinvesting in your biggest asset, not to mention the energy savings for years to come. You can call 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com. And if you didn't know, also, 43% of your utility bill is heating costs. You can save up to 30% on your heating bill while increasing the value of your home by up to $12,000. And you'll get a federal tax credit up to $500. And if you do need new windows, here's how you tell. If they are sticking, drafty, cracked, hard to open, locking when they close, yes, you need new windows. Pay nothing for 24 months. And if you buy 2 windows, you get 2 windows free on any style from Window Nation. There's no limit to it. You'll save thousands on your new windows and energy bills, all while upgrading the look and feel of your home. Again, call 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com and be sure to tell you that Ramon sent you.
Good night on Rocky Top last night as Tennessee knocks off number 1 Alabama. A second straight win for Tennessee, by the way, over number 1 ranked teams. Going back to my senior year against Gonzaga. Since that 2018-2019 team. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors with Ramon Foster. I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson, day off for her. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer, as we revisit a great conversation, Ramon, with VFL, West Tennessee native, and Super Bowl champion Trey Smith.
Good conversation with Trey, too, man. I was really enjoying it. He let loose a little bit yesterday, man. The 0 sack shirt, you said that earlier, man. I'm happy for him, happy for them. I got Juju on that team. Of course, chaotic Juju. He had his ring sizing yesterday, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to watch.
Did he put that on TikTok?
Put it on his Instagram story. I'm sure it's on his TikTok, too. I don't have TikTok. I feel like I need to go get it since everybody speaks about it.
I feel like there's a lot culturally that you will miss out on.
Straight up? On TikTok? I don't have to make a dance, though, do I?
You do not.
Okay. Yes.
Nah, you're over 30. You don't need to do it.
You can just make. Well, no, that's Snapchat. You don't need Snapchat if you're over 30.
I did delete my Snapchat.
That's a good move.
Use for it.
I don't even use it.
Hey, that's saying something right there.
I know.
You're the young hip guy around here.
I never liked Snapchat.
Did you not?
No.
Snapchat always just felt like, what is this?
They give you like a score. Like my score is in it's like 20,000 or something, which is very, very. I know a girl in college whose score was 4 million.
For what?
For just that's what you just can't trust them. You can't trust a girl that lives on Snapchat. You also can't trust a guy that only lives on Snapchat. But
oh man, jeez, Louise. Well, I didn't realize that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
How do you get up to 4 million points on that?
You talk to a lot of people.
That's all you do. That's all you do then. Yeah. Jeez, Louise.
We get to our conversation with VFL Trey Smith. Had himself a day in Kansas City yesterday celebrating his first Super Bowl ring. Discuss a lot more with the former right guard and right tackle for the Tennessee Volunteers, Trey Smith.
Trey, about your journey to get to this point, man. I saw your tweet, man. You said God is good, man. Like legitimately having to wait to be picked and go to that team right there in Kansas City and be a day one starter. Man, what has it been like from that to now being a world champion?
Man, it's pretty unbelievable. It's unreal. We're looking about almost like 4 years ago, man, at Tennessee being told you probably shouldn't play anymore at a certain point. So from going to, your football career is over, and then all of a sudden you wake up, you play, you get drafted, and you win a Super Bowl. I mean, it's surreal. It's nothing about anybody else but God at the end of the day that really brought me through it. So, like I said, man, it's a sheer blessing, man. I'm in this position, and I'm super thankful for it, man.
You guys have been very boastful, as you should be, after playing in that game. 0 sacks. I saw Orlando Brown Jr. say it. What did that? Put it on a T-shirt.
Put it on a T-shirt.
Straight up. I'm buying 2 of them, okay? With that being said, what does it feel like? Because that wasn't an easy defense to play up against. And I saw Creed posting out, man, do you like Gore? Like, y'all, what was the mindset for a young group? Because y'all are still young to play against such a good defensive front like that.
Yeah, when they brought us together as offensive line, obviously you have one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the league, our MVP, Pat. And, at the end of the day, we want to keep him protected. We want to be an efficient offense. We want to run well. But, we also want to set the tone every time we're out there, man. We want to be the bully, We want to set that tone from the first play to the last one. And we knew coming into this game with the Eagles D-line, very talented front, but they weren't really used to having to keep up with people. They usually play off a lead, and they're able to just pin their ears back, get a good pass rush going. But if you took the fight to them, confronted them, they weren't used to that. So at the end of the day, a great defensive front, hats off to that organization. But we came to play, we came to fight at the end of the day.
Trey, I know you take a lot of pride being an O-lineman. Believe me, I am in this room with Ramon Foster every single morning. He lets me know what you guys are like. But just protecting a guy like Patrick Mahomes that we all know how special he is. And then you see him kind of re-injure that ankle again in the game. And he gave a shout out to y'all so many times at the end of the game saying, we win, and I depended on my O-line to step it up, and you did. Like, just how much respect and what is it like to play in front of a guy like that?
Yeah, just the fact that he's giving a shout-out to the end of the game, it's classic Pat, man. Always trying to give some credit due to other people. Playing in front of him is nerve-wracking because you obviously don't want to get him hit. You don't want to get him touched, man. You want to let him do what he does at a high level. But ultimately, man, it's a tremendous amount of pride in protecting him. When he compliments us in our game, that's huge. At the end of the day, we take a tremendous amount of pride, making sure 15's upright and he can do his job well. And it's not an easy task.
So you have a lot of young guys on this team. You're one of them. And another thing Mahomes said was, I'm actually really excited to see these younger guys celebrate. I got to give a shout out to my Coug, Jalen Watson. Go Cougs. I know he's a great teammate as a rookie, celebrating that with you guys in this championship. Like, what does it mean for so many of these young guys too? And what has it been like in that locker room just after the game celebrating?
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. You look across the board of our team, we have a lot of young players at crucial positions. And, our secondary this year, you mentioned Jalen Watson. I mean, what a phenomenal job they did in the game. Not only the Super Bowl, but the AFC Championship as well. But, man, I'm in year 2. A lot of year 1 guys, just talking like Trent McDuffie, dudes like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, telling them, man, you won the Super Bowl in your first year. Like, that's crazy. You just got into the league and you hit a goal that a lot of guys might never even hit in their career. So, for us, man, we're celebrating like there's no tomorrow.
VFL Trey Smith, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Trey, talking about what you guys were able to do specifically in the second half. I don't know if you know this, but the only negative yardage plays that you guys had in the run game in the second half were the kneel downs, getting ready for Harrison Butker's field goal. How much pride do you take in not only being such a good pass blocking offensive line, but in paving the way in the run game too? Because everybody obviously talks about Mahomes in the pass game. You guys are paving the way in both phases there.
Yeah, man, Ramon can tell you there's no better feeling than dictating up front, the way things are going to be, what you're trying to get accomplished, And we knew, obviously, the first half wasn't the greatest reflection of us as an offensive team, and we knew the things we had to clean up. And at the end of the day, you have nothing to save in the tank. You have 2 more quarters, and that's it. That's the rest of the season. That's for the championship. So we were just really dialed and locked in, man. We wanted that, Super Bowl trophy. We wanted to lift the Lombardi at the end of the day. And we knew, at this point, all we can do is focus, keep your head down, and just keep grinding, man. And something good was going to happen. I think going into the final parts of the game as well, I mean, it's just sort of indicative of our coaching, man. Like, just a great coaching job they did this week in terms of preparation. And I think everyone was there for the moment. We knew what the moment was there. We just had to go seize it.
So, Trey, you obviously get the ultimate prize of the NFL. You get a Super Bowl ring. You've also probably been able to gloat about a lot of Tennessee Volunteer wins this past season with the win that the Vols had. And speaking of other things that Ramon often does on this show, me and him both being VFLs, Kayla's got to put up with a lot of Tennessee bias sometimes in this room. How much fun have you had just watching those guys, watching that program that Josh Heupel's already built? And have you won any bets in that locker room over Tennessee games this past year?
Ooh. Man, hey, it has been an absolute joy and pleasure. Being able to talk my trash every week, walking in there, rolling in there has been great. A lot of bets won this year. We didn't have any Alabama guys on our team, so they're lucky about that because I would have let them hear it. Would have made tons of bets on that. But I tell you the one that was really good. I got a Clemson, Tennessee, won our bowl game.
Yeah.
Cornell Powell, Justin Rock, them boys were sick. I was telling them for, Cornell, we got in together last year, and I was telling them, man, when our teams see each other, don't be surprised because when you guys play a little cupcake schedule, you get beat by us, all right? I told them that last year. So then all of a sudden, here we go. We're playing the bowl game, talking smack off rip. I'm letting them have it. He's letting me have it. And then whenever they lost, crickets, man. Wouldn't even pick up the FaceTime. But don't worry, I had something for him, man. I had some Pantone 151C for him, man. I gave him some Tennessee gear, him and Justin Rock. I didn't post them online just because I harassed them enough in the comments. So it was a ton of fun. I was petty. I kept my receipts, man.
Yeah. Look at you. Did you teach him that, Ramon, keeping those receipts?
We're both West Tennessee kids, man. I mean, legitimately, this is what we do, man. We call it best Tennessee. Ain't that right, Trey?
You're right, man.
With that being said, though, man, the Vols again, like you said, where does it? I know your career was somewhat like mine, and some wins, some losses, some big, some small losses. Like, where are you at now? What's Tennessee moving forward?
Yeah, man. Just really excited about them, bro. Like, I can't wait to watch them. One thing that's really exciting to me is just like the guys are coming out for the draft. a guy like Darnell Wright right now, Jerome Carvin, guys that I played with in the old line room, and just really seeing them succeed, man, like seeing where Hendon, Hyatt, Tillman, where they all end up at. So for me, man, it's really been a blast to watch, seeing my teammates succeed on the field, getting big-time wins, winning the Orange Bowl like they did, because a lot of those guys, when they were down there where we didn't have the greatest moments, then ending and capping off their career with those moments, man, it made it worth watching.
Are you you're probably going to make it to the orange and white game if available. Are they going to allow you to bring the sticky Lombardi with you, too?
I don't know. I might be on a wait list, man, with the shows and all them. I might fall a little lower in the list. But, man, I can't wait to pull back up at some point.
Also this real quick too, man, just speaking of, because this Titans situation is in similar to where y'all was, where you got to draft young. You and Creed being together, man, a left-handed center. What has y'all relationship been like to grow together, to come in together, one being a high-round guy, you being a sixth-rounder in the sense of, but like getting a lot of respect and kind of growing together with Wiley next to you and the free agent soon with Orlando Brown Jr., Zeus, man. Like what, and Thony, I can't forget him too. What has that been like for you guys to kind of grow up? What did they tell you last year going into this year, Trey? Because I'm trying to give understanding of how you build an O-line, and you are actually in the build of one.
When we first got there, it's just a lot of, filling each other out in a way. You don't really know the personalities, what make each other tick. And, going through that first training camp, grinding there, going through the season. And I think the biggest thing is continuity. As offensive line, the more reps you get together, the more comfortable we are. The more you know each other's tendencies, the play patterns. I mean, I know a lot of times last year, Wiley and I, even this year, we got to the point where we don't talk about games and things of that nature. It just sort of plays out. And you know how he's going to, play a certain block and run game. So like for me, coming in with Creed was an easy transition because we did a lot of our pre-draft like training together. So like, I was already pretty much doing like combination zone block, pass pro with him like on a day-to-day basis in the morning. So like for me, having a guy that I knew even from high school that were really close, it made it really easy to transition. And just for the O-line and as a whole, I think like we got so close this year. But once again, it's a continuity thing, like, being together for over a year, the coaching points, the things that make the plays go. And like, you just have that feel of playing next to your O-line, and playing next to someone,
Yeah.
So, Trey, I do want to ask you this because I think what I love about your story is just you had to grind to get to where you are. You had to overcome so much adversity, which those stories are not just stories, like it makes a person. So when you look back at some of the things you've been through and you're still so young in your career, but to now be able to hold that Lombardi trophy, and can you look back at those things and say, oh, this was why it was the plan?
Yeah. That's probably like the craziest part about it all is just like, okay, when you're going through these dark and tough times and, it seems like everything's going wrong, it's like, okay, there's a greater purpose. God still has a plan for me. One of the things I always stuck my head on was Jeremiah 29:11, just thinking about that verse even before the game, just understanding, God's got a plan for me. He's not going to harm me. So at the end of the day, just trusting with his plan. I mean, there were a lot of times I was frustrated not getting drafted in certain places, certain places.
Yep. Tennessee.
And now it's just like, man, it makes sense now. This is why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 2-year starter. I got a Lombardi trophy, and I'm blessed to be here.
That's phenomenal, Trey. I got to ask you a petty one because it's going
go.
kind of viral, Trey. And you know
Roll
me,
it
right?
out.
Like I'm gonna throw it out there, okay? I've played with Juju, okay? Like, how are you taking his phone before the parade, dog? Because he's kind of lit it on fire because he said somebody likes to hold you on Valentine's Day. Where are we at with that one, Trey? Because I know you saw it.
Yeah, no, I saw it, man. Juju's my dog, man. I love Juju. I love the energy he brings, man. It's infectious. But, yeah, man, I saw that one. The thing about Juju, man, he's a master marketer, man. He does a phenomenal job what he does. So, even if it looks like an L, Juju's always winning, baby. So
I told you, he's got a plan in it,
That's
man.
right. Trey, on the way out, man, I know Ramon talks a lot about the guys in other sports, the guys on his team that he still keeps in touch with from his era of being VFLs. We're talking, I mean, there's Lady Vols, there's baseball players, there's kind of all these athletes from really good spots on that campus. You were at Tennessee at a time where there's been a lot of success around your era, around a lot of other sports, around just the community around Tennessee right now. How tight-knit do you feel like your group of VFLs is, going to guys like Dobbs and maybe guys that are finishing up right now? How close do you feel like that community and culture is on Rocky Top right now?
I think it's amazing right now. I know when I was there, just like, watching basketball, just supporting them as well. Baseball going crazy. The job Coach Vitello's done. It's a really good sense of community at Tennessee. It's really just different though. I remember when I was there just talking to guys like Admiral, Grant Williams, it really is a brotherhood, man. I still keep up with those guys, follow their careers, wish nothing but the best for them. And then even, I'm getting old now in a way, like going back to the football team, man, not knowing all the faces in there. But, the VFL brotherhood, Vol for life, man, like, it's a long-term thing, man. So even when you walk in there, the respect factor that these guys are following in your shoes. They respect the fact that, hey, this guy's been here and he's on the next level. So it's a beautiful thing to see, and it's a great tradition, man.
Real quick, too, you played with a trench monster and Chris Jones, but you also played against one here in Nashville, Jeffrey Simmons. Woo. What was that battle like? Because I tried to warn you, but, of course, you held your own. What is it like, man?
Yeah, man, it's a war, man. Jeffrey Simmons is a great player. There's no doubt about that, man. It's fun playing against him because, at the end of the day, as a competitor, you want to play against top talent.
Right.
And for me, man, it's a great matchup, bro. I mean, you saw how it is. It's been ultra physical 2 years in a row. I mean, at this point, when, I play the Titans, it's sort of,
family reunion.
It's going to be real, yeah. But, it's fun, like I said, playing top talent, man, and get out there and get after it. I mean, there's no better feeling in football.
So there's VFL Trey Smith with us on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Really good conversation with him, and if you missed any of that, you can check it out and check out every hour of the show every day on your favorite podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, as well as 1045thezone.com. But coming up next, I once again have a bone to pick with one of Trey Smith's teammates.
Uh-oh.
Travis Kelce continues to say stupid things at microphones. Next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 1045 The Zone.
Everybody's talking about regenerative medicine these days because people who have joint pain are getting real lasting relief without drugs or surgery. As Ramon Foster and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting treatment. They use highly concentrated healing agents from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. And if you have ongoing joint pain from arthritis or an injury, you need to call QC Kinetics. Don't assume that steroids and surgery are your only options. Times have changed, and regenerative medicine can get you moving again with no downtime. Stop taking the pain meds and discover this remarkable alternative that pro athletes have been using for years. Thanks to QC Kinetics, this amazing treatment option is now available for folks like you and me who are sick and tired of joint pain. Don't put this off any longer. Spring is coming, and you want to enjoy all life has to offer. Call QC Kinetics now at 615-249-4024. Get a free consultation with a local medical professional. Again, the number is 615-249-4024.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on a 104.5 The Zone. It's not the third Saturday in October. It's the third Wednesday in February that we discussed here this morning as Tennessee beats Alabama. And Ramon, it's about to be a very high-energy portion of the show.
It is.
Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with you. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer. Big Orange Mac is on the line. Everybody get in here. Turn up your radios just a little bit more. Good morning, Mac. How are we?
Good morning, William. Good morning, Ramon, a.k.a. Black Cherry. Good morning, great state of Tennessee. Everybody get on your feet and wake up. Y'all hear me? Got your ears on?
Yeah.
Now, for 15 years, Bama fans been running that soup scoop, talking, Tennessee dead. Now we done snatched victory from them in October, and we done snatched victory from them last night. And they quiet, they silent, especially Bama JC. You've been running that soup scoop for 15 years, then you went into hiding. Come on out, Osama bin Laden. We've been waiting on you. Me and Slay been waiting on you. Come get some of this medicine. Come get some of this tussin. It's good for the soul. Schaefer, crank up Rocky Top, baby. Let's go, everybody. Don't it feel good to be alive and raising hell in Tennessee? Y'all have a great morning.
I thought he was going to keep preaching, baby. The doors of the church is open.
As soon as I started playing the preaching music, he switched on me.
Oh, that's terrific.
Osama bin Laden, BOM, man, came through. Ooh. Yeah. What Bama fans gonna say now? Oh, we'll get them in baseball. I know that's the next one right there.
You want to know something funny about that? Alabama's best baseball player transferred to Tennessee and plays third base for Tennessee now. From Brentwood, actually.
Yeah,
Went
shout
to
out to
Ravenwood
the
High
boy
School.
then.
Yeah.
Oh, that brought Cousin Mike back in there. Soup school.
Big Orange Mac, please, I beg you to call in anytime you want.
He need to come back and finish it up, man. I thought when Shay put the underlying music on him, I just thought he was gonna keep going.
He just said he
pulled
had a
back.
couple receipts to read.
He did.
That's good.
He did. Bama JC. He from Springfield. I remember that guy. He called in and gave us hell last year, man.
There are a lot of people that went into witness protection after Tennessee started getting hot.
Like random soup
Which,
scoops.
that being said, so my best friend from high school, like my closest friend that I ran track with for 6 years, texted me late last night. So he ran track at Alabama, like long time. Like his family is like, we're tight. Long time Alabama friend. My buddy Andrew texted me last night and just said, I love you, but I will be taking a week hiatus from your show. It's like, you know what, buddy? I think that's okay.
And see, this is what happens, Shave. Can I go there real quick? I know Will got a bone
I don't
to
know
pick,
where
though.
you're going.
No. I
So-
just want to, like, the conversation we had yesterday, how insufferable we are,
we
right?
are insufferable.
We are just such a bad program. Like, this is what happens when Tennessee wins. Let me tell my
Shave gets a
story.
rebuttal.
No. You snuck in there. Oh, how we're such a bad. No.
Okay.
You don't get to say that.
Okay.
You're
All right.
allowed to defend yourself.
Let me defend
But then
myself.
you poisoned the well the moment you made that statement.
Let me defend
So
myself.
please continue.
We are like all others in the SEC. If you get an opportunity to get a dub against a rival or get a dub against the number one team, which Mississippi State hadn't done in a very long time, they will just minimize it, Shafe. I'm not into the minimization of wins
Let me
and
say
L's
this.
when it comes to rivalries. It went from, hey,
No,
you beat the number
hold
one
on.
team.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you on that.
I just want to throw it back out. It's just one game. No, it's not. Especially when your team lost last night too. Like seriously, come on.
You know who we never said that to?
Who?
Vandy fans who were celebrating last week.
Yeah, I know.
That was never the position of this show.
It was never the
Enjoy it.
You
position.
minimized them this morning with the procession joke.
Yeah, but that's minimizing
That was-
something that has nothing to do with on the field or the result of a game.
That film storming was a college ruiner right there. People they left school, college, when they saw that field storming, Shafe. That's what they did.
The transfer.
They transferred out to Belmont. And to
Bruins.
you know what I'm saying? Like, if you saw field storming like that, come on now. We got to do better in that part.
Single file.
Single file.
It was polite.
It was very polite, and I appreciate that.
I think the biggest thing that I continue to learn from you and from Slay, just the more time I spend around you guys, I'm serious.
This is good.
No, it is a good thing.
Okay.
It's usually a good thing. Is just enjoying these moments when you get them.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, because in that locker room, like, I don't know, there, especially in college sports, there are so many teams.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't enough championships to go around.
It's only one.
This isn't like pro sports where you're going to get your turn every 10 years. Like, just odds are, if you lose enough, you're going to get your turn from being in position to draft players enough.
Yeah.
College sports, obviously, don't really work that way.
Recruits follow recruits.
It's not just a cycle of you're always going to be back. You're always going to get that opportunity as the invisible hand of pro sport. Like, that's not a thing in college sports. And there just aren't enough trophies to go around to make everybody feel like they can celebrate something meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So the games like this are those moments in college sports.
I almost had a bone to pick with you this morning, too. As I was getting ready, I was just like, I should say it. I was like, no, I'm not, because you're
what's
due
your
that
bone
as
to
a
pick
fan.
with me?
It was last night when I asked you about the win. I was like, are you satisfied now? And you went, no.
Well, no, I was responding to that.
Okay. And I was just like, this is why, like, especially college athletes deal with like such like mental issues and stuff like that. Like big wins, to your point just a second ago, appreciating them no matter how they come.
Right.
You gotta celebrate them. But the fan base sometimes, and I'm in it too. We just look at it as like, oh, well, what about the next one? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's okay to celebrate the good ones, you know?
What happened was you texted me that, and Shave texted me at the same time in our group text. Shave said, go to bed.
Oh.
And you said, are you happy now? And I said, no to going to bed.
Okay, all right, my B. See, we wouldn't have this issue.
And then I posted a GIF of Caillou when he said, no.
We wouldn't have this issue. He had an iPhone, and he could reply back directly
just reply
to
on the
you.
one text. Oh, wow. Do we just have did lightning just hit the
He cut us
hit the
off.
station?
Lightning hit this control room.
He cut us off.
615-737-1045 if you want to carry the energy, carry the fight, like Big Orange Mac just brought to the show a couple of minutes ago. I will have my bone to pick with a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs who I think is more interested in just being a pro wrestler and cutting wrestling promos. I don't know why we as good teams now have to act like nobody ever believed in you. Travis Kelce, do less. Coming up next, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. And maybe not yet. One moment. We've got a couple of
Our automation froze up.
Computer issues. Best producer in the world is working on it. And just like that, after like a quick break.
Then the computers are loafing?
Loafing just a little bit.
Just a little bit, man.
By the way, I guess Indiana lost to Northwestern in basketball last night.
I saw Buck tweet something out.
Nobody look at Buck impolitely.
Impolitely, yeah. He sent out some type of gift, don't bother me. And I'm like, oh, IU must have lost or something, man.
Right. So let me try this, Will. Nope, that didn't work either. This is a problem.
I love
commercial
chaos,
free
man.
on all.
Let's do it. Now you don't even have to get the other station serious anymore, man. Let's go.
So we're just a podcast. Right
No,
now.
by the way, we can talk about this real quick. Texas A&M. You even said it a second ago. They'll probably be ranked this week, huh?
I don't know if they will, because beating that Arkansas team now that they did last night, came back. A&M's 11-2 in the SEC.
That's what's kind of scary. That's a tournament team.
They're one game behind Alabama now. So their last game of the season is against Alabama. So if they hold serve and kind of stick with Bama, they would have a shot to win the SEC. But they just haven't had that major signature win.
Yeah.
Winning at Auburn and breaking their streak in the game that Slay called was kind of that big moment. The transitive property doesn't really do as much for them now that Auburn hasn't really been that team that we expected.
You know what, though? Well, I kind of dislike that a little bit at times.
Yeah,
like,
I do too.
You beat a team that, like, when we beat Florida and stuff like that, like, and then Florida end up sucking the rest of the football season. It's just like, well, they didn't suck. They weren't what you thought they were going to be after that Utah win. I hate that follows you, and it's not your fault that they end up falling off of a cliff.
Right.
That bothers me a little bit, man, because now you got to judge what they were good when we were beat them, but I guess the argument is, they were never good.
Well, because in that moment, that is that you go into that game, and that's where Tennessee's lost to Florida last year in the Swamp, not 2 years ago, and now in the Swamp. That was not a good Florida team.
No.
Tennessee still has to exercise that demon of A, winning in the Swamp, but B, just beating a top 15 Florida team, which they were at the time, that had just come off a really close loss to Alabama at that point. So I agree with you. I feel like especially in college basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And especially this year, the transitive property doesn't do much for you anyway.
And then it's also like they just look at the number of ranking, like a team that can be top 10 in a sense, and you beat them as a top 10 team, and then they lose a quarterback, and then they start to be a bad team. Like, does that really, how come you can't be judged on the moments in which you beat them? I do struggle with that as somebody now that's got to judge sports and watch and cover sports a little bit. It's like, no, the dub was a big dub. It's okay to kind of say that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, that is what it is. And Savage just said that in the chat. You see that? He was like, A&M is a really good team.
Yeah, no, they are
11-2.
But talk about being ranked. I mean, they're probably on the fringe of that.
They're probably on the fringe of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Savage this the other day too. Maybe he'll, since we're giving out free subscriptions now on Zone TV.
Yeah, that's right.
Across the radio airwaves, is this. Can this Tennessee team, or can a team out of the SEC actually now go and win it? Or is it still Purdue, Kansas? Who else is overly strong in this league?
Well,
now?
Alabama.
Alabama.
Like I still think you could make the argument that Alabama is still the best team in college basketball.
I mean, let's not forget, too, Purdue ended up losing 1 or 2 and still was ranked number 1 following that.
I mean, Alabama still has, going into last night, they had a scoring margin of plus 21 in SEC play.
Golly.
I mean, they've struggled on the road a bit away from Coleman Coliseum, but they're the highest scoring team in the SEC by far. I mean, they're averaging 84.5 points per game.
Dog.
And they've got the probably best player in college basketball.
Hands down.
I mean, Jay Billis said last night, Brandon Miller, Nashville's own, is shooting 70% on uncontested jump shots.
That is a walking bucket.
Like, he's NBA ready tomorrow.
That is a walking bucket, Will. I couldn't imagine. You ever just gone out on the basketball court? Oh, I meant to tell you that, too. Have you ever just gone out on the I got something to tell you in a second.
Okay.
You ever gone out on the basketball court and just feel like, oh, I'm hot, and then you just miss,
every time I go on the basketball
4
court.
of 10, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
6, 7 of 10 shots. And I recently, Will, to your point about why you say you wouldn't have been a good basketball player, I saw a kid last weekend. You know what he was doing?
What?
Going up and down the court with his right hand.
With his right hand?
Right hand dominant dribbling, Will. And I was like, okay, is he working on something? And then he switched over to the left to shoot.
Exactly how I was.
It was, I don't want to call it odd because I don't want anybody. It was so different to actually see that transpire, man. I was like, young Will Bowling.
That was me.
That blew my mind.
One of the
Will.
many reasons why I was really bad at basketball.
You don't even think about that as a deficiency.
No.
How can you dribble right-handed? So it felt weird for you. It feels weird for you to dribble left?
Yep.
It does.
Yep.
But you can pull up and shoot a shot with your left.
Yep.
You
I can't shoot with my right. Like
you can't shoot with your right.
How to. Yeah. Doesn't work that way.
How do you even figure that out? I mean, I know you figure it out over time.
Couldn't tell you. It's weird.
I saw a kid, and I was like, Will Bowling. And the kid was a really good athlete,
that poor
too.
guy.
Yeah. You said the poor guy.
Poor guy has no chance.
He's a big kid, too. He's athletic, move up and down the court really well, man. This is a young kid, though. Yeah. He was like probably 10, 11 years old.
So the other interesting thing about this Tennessee basketball team, and hang in there with us here as we kind of work through, again, some more technical issues on our side of things right now, but it's interesting that basketball people love this Tennessee team. It's not like football, where you feel like a lot of times the people that love Tennessee the most are Tennessee people and Tennessee fans that are banging the drum for the Vols to kind of be quote unquote back, so to speak. The people that are loving this Tennessee team the most are the Jay Billises of the world.
Yeah.
Like it's so interesting last night hearing Jay Billis say, I think this Tennessee team is fine. I think they're still a Final Four caliber team. And that's what I want to ask Grant Ramey when we talk to him at 8:20. Like, has your opinion on on the ceiling of this Tennessee team changed in the last 2 weeks?
To your point, though, and to be fair, Savage has kind of been saying that for a little while, too. That's kind of like with those losses we've had. I've been hesitant to be upset. I don't like the method of how they lost and everything, too. But I kind of get it a little bit to where I listen to the basketball talking heads, like the experts, you know, they'll tell you, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, I can see that better in football. Like, man, no, it's good, it's cool. But then football is weighed so differently with wins and losses because it's only one a week and not that many as far as basketball goes. But most basketball people, to your point about Jay Bill, like they still see the future in a team like Tennessee to where they can compete and kind of push through a loss or two. Like even the best teams in the league, Purdue and Alabama, Kansas, all have many losses. I was actually looking at the high school national rankings. I think Mount Verde's only lost like 2 games.
They're always incredible.
But everybody else, like IMG and just a bunch of these other like schools, have lost 5, 7, 8 games and are still ranked top 25 in the country as far as high school programs go. So wins and losses in basketball is a little bit different. I even look at it in the NBA aspect of it. Like they'll just drop games in a row and still end up being like world champions. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why it's super significant when you had Golden State Warriors break the win record or the Chicago Bulls when they did it. Like that's a tough outfit, man.
Tennessee held Alabama to 59 points. That's 25 points below their SEC average. It was the first time all season, Ramon, that the Tide had been held under 60.
Jeez.
Their previous low was 66 in a win at Mississippi State. Zakai Ziegler was outstanding in this game.
Yeah, he was.
Team high 36 minutes. Tough night shooting. He was 4-11 from the field, but had 15 points, 8 assists, and 0 turnovers. And we'll continue to dive into that as the show continues this morning. But I think we got our computer issues resolved, and we're going to head to break here. And when we come back, reset the headlines, get ready to talk with Coach Mack as well here in hour number 2 on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Into hour number 2 on the Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And I think our computer might be an Alabama fan because it's just not really wanting to work with us very well this morning. We apologize for some technical difficulties, but we are back at it. And we've got the most interesting man in the NFL, Coach Dave McGinnis, back on the airwaves coming up in just about 10 minutes. RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors with Ramon Foster. Kayla Anderson, a very well-deserved day off. And Jonathan Schaefer, the best producer in the world, fighting through technical issues this morning that refused to get him down.
The best producer in the world.
In the world. And Will Bowling.
So I was going to say, who are you?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you're him. I'm Will Bowling.
We're the danger.
The one who knocks.
That's right. Lots to discuss as Tennessee takes down the top-ranked Tide. Alabama had 15 fewer shots than Tennessee last night.
Good defense. Those turnovers, too, got to them last night. They swarmed them. It was good to watch a good defensive game where they didn't back down whatsoever, Will. Very enjoyable to watch, especially when you're on the winning end of it. But, of course, a guy who's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, Brandon Miller, still got his 15 points last night. 15 and 10 at that. What a phenomenal athlete, dude.
It is crazy that guy had 15 and 10, and you feel like you shut him down. And then Jonas Adu had the best game of his career, and he had 12 and 11. Now, granted, very different expectations for those two players. You're talking about a role player versus a superstar in the making in the professional ranks as well. But this was the Jonas Adu game, man.
It was.
3 blocks, 12 points, 11 boards. He altered about twice the shots even that he didn't block. And he had some rude blocks, too. Like, he was getting his money's worth down
and
there.
everything, man. Really good for a guy like him. And what was so cool, too, man, I love seeing this in sports, man. When people do something good and their teammates celebrate them, like they were happy for him at the end of the game. The smile on his face. What do you say? They call him on his TikTok. His nickname's the Giraffe.
He's the Giraffe.
He's the Giraffe because he's so tall. He's got such a wide smile, man. You saw people be excited for him after the game. The amount of daps that he got, if I'm not mistaken, they said last night, I was listening on the call when I was in the car a little bit too, his first double-double that he's had in his career. That right there is that's surprising to me too. But I guess on the college level, everybody plays such a role, especially when you're recruited as a role player or you kind of get defined as a role player a little bit, Will. So it was really cool to watch him go off.
Jonas Adu on TikTok has 422,000 followers.
Goodness gracious.
He went viral because he makes videos of him hitting fans walking into rooms.
What?
Yeah, like, which I know Slay could probably like relate to this.
Yeah.
Of like, just like he makes TikToks of like tall guy problems.
Slay is barely taller than me, man. Stop this. It's my airtime now. We're not saying Ron Slay is 6'9", okay? No, he's not, okay? And I know the weight losses made him look taller.
You're going to make him call in right now.
He's not, okay? Or have Coach Mack defend him. One of the two is going to happen. He's either calling in or Coach Mack going to defend him.
So you're saying what my dad still tells me, that I'm not actually taller than him. I'm just always standing on a hill.
Oh, my gosh.
Slay's just always standing on a hill when he stands next to you.
Or I'm wearing Vans and he's got on like basketball shoes and stuff. Like I'm wearing flat bottom shoes and he's just out here wearing Jordans and just Nikes all the time.
Hey, I'll ride with you.
Thank you.
You let me know when and where to be.
Golly. He does not hit fans walking into buildings or into rooms. Jeez.
Oh, goodness.
Now we passed that.
Coming up next, Coach Dave McGinnis scouts draft quarterbacks with us. We continue quarterback week in the NFL draft process here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Who Bryce Young reminds him of, who he likes between QB2 of C.J. Stroud and Will Levis.
My computer issues earlier, you know who it reminded me of? Will Levis.
Perfect. This segment's not going to get any better than that. Coach Mack next, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Let me tell you about a collaboration you need, okay? Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They are the heating and cooling company. They can take care of all your HVAC needs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is a York certified expert company, and they always back their work by 10-year parts and labor warranties on York products, some of the best products you can get around you. And guys, don't wait until the summer to replace your unit. If you need a new unit, now is the time. Trust me, y'all, it's going to be hot this summer. Why? Because it's always hot in Tennessee in the summer. But through the month of February, you get up to 72 months of no interest financing or $2,500 off qualified units because February is the month of love, and they love the Zone listeners at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. If you call for a service, mention Ramon, Kayla, or the 3HL crew and get that service call for free. You heard that right. There's never been a better reason to try Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. The thing is, too, if you do need repair work, they offer free service calls with the repairs, plus low monthly payments on those so you can kind of budget yourself, your family, while staying cool or heated inside your house. But if you do need a new unit, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offers 60 months no interest financing. Plus, they can provide the financing for qualifying purchases and free estimates on those replacement units. Again, reach out to them at springhillac.com and be sure to tell them that Ramon and Kayla sent you.
Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will continues, and as always, is powered by our friends at All Four Seasons Garage Doors. With Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson, a very well-deserved day of vacation this morning. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer. As we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline to check in with our good friend, Coach Dave McGinnis, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better rates, better coverage, and better service. That's why Tennesseans have been relying on Farm Bureau Health Plans for their health coverage for 76 years. Good morning, Coach Mack. How are we?
Good morning, Matt.
Hey, Will. Hey, Ramon. You guys gave Kayla the day off for the worst weather in the world. That's not fair.
It's not fair, and we also don't have her to slow down our Tennessee homerism after beating number 1 Alabama last night. So we're just a little off the rails.
The Vols deserve Tennessee. You need to celebrate that win. I mean, that's a big win.
That is. Real big win, ain't it, Coach Mack? You knock off the number 1 anything. You deserve to celebrate those things, man. Hey,
look, winning is hard. I mean, people that have never done it for a living I don't think understand it quite as much. That's celebrate it. Now, in basketball, you get a lot of chances a week. It's different. Mm-hmm. But still, you beat the number 1 team in the country right now. That's a big win. It's a SEC win over the number 1 team. So, I mean, what's so hard about that?
Yeah. Oh, nothing at all, Coach Mack. I got to ask you something, Coach Mack, on the coaching side of it, and I know you're well versed in the locker room too. But we got a conversation we're going to have here in a little bit with Will about Kelsey and just athletes and just fake lying to yourself, right? Did you ever get a chuckle out of guys saying like we were the underdogs and stuff like that? In the sense like you'd be like, guys, we're a really good team, or did you kind of embody that a little bit too?
Look, you take every bit of motivation that you can get. And if anybody says anything disparaging at all, even a tweak of it, I don't really care really what level it is. If you have somebody tell you even a little bit that you maybe not be able to do what you think you can do, then when you do it, I mean, that's all part of it. Now, enough's enough of it. I mean, they're a really good team, but there were some people saying, we're not quite sure, because, hey, Philadelphia was a good team too, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you can see why somebody would say, this could be close or the Chiefs may not be. But, yeah, I mean, Kelsey stood up there and he's standing with it. But you know what? Good for him. It's just like the 0-sack T-shirts. You get it done. You've got the right to say anything you want to. Anything you want to, once you get it done. Now, the truth of the matter is, in all sports, all levels, you got to do it again sooner or later.
Oh, they can't wait to keep those receipts, Coach Mack. They will let you know the next year that, hey, this is for how it happened last year.
Oh, yeah, hey, that stirs the competitive pot. That is just what it is. But, you celebrate, you win. I mean, if you saw any glimpses of that parade, they were all in on it. And guess what? Good for them, because that's hard to do. In the National Football League, that's one of the hardest things to achieve because you've got one-game shots every week at it, and injuries play such a huge, huge part in it. And, and they did it, with a quarterback that people thought maybe not be able to operate because we saw the injury and they were behind at halftime. So they've got a reason to crow. They really do.
Okay.
Coach Mack with us, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. So leading up to the draft, we've got Red on Wednesdays. We've got Coach Mack on Thursdays. We're going to go position by position. And if you heard our conversation with Rhett yesterday, we're starting with quarterbacks this week. And Coach Mack, I want to start at the top of the draft board with Bryce Young, who we spoke with Rhett a little bit yesterday about some of the concerns about his weight and just some of the weaknesses in his game. Let's look on the other side, though, the strengths. What does he do best that makes him a prime number 1 overall prospect?
Well, first of all, guys, and you guys have been with me long enough, and our listeners have listened long enough and are sophisticated in the fact that there are 2 drafts, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There is a quarterback draft, and then there's the rest of the positions draft, because if you need one, and you've got to have one, and if you need one, well, then all bets are off the table as far as comparing them to anybody else in the draft. So we're talking quarterbacks now. So you start talking quarterbacks.
with this crop and with this crew. You guys we were together down there at the Senior Bowl, so you saw live and in person the crop that was down there, which was probably the best of the rest. Okay?
Yeah.
When you start to look at it. And so then once you start watching tape and you go through this process, you start to delineate these guys and going, they're not all perfect. And here's the other thing that with quarterbacks, especially nowadays, that you have to put into the equation when you start talking about it. Every one of these quarterbacks is going to have to be reworked once they get into the league. Every one of them. The best quarterback in the league right now came in and sat for a year because when Andy Reid traded up to draft him out of Texas Tech, which was a wide-open offense, run and shoot, half-field reads, ball out of the hand quick, all of that stuff, he had to be reworked. They had the ability to bring him in there and sit him for a year behind Alex Smith. So any quarterback you bring in is going to have to be reworked. Now, some more than others, but everybody, playing that position, playing any position, Ramon, when you came in from the University of Tennessee, big schools, Southeastern Conference school, but there's a lot you had to learn to play in this league. All right. Quarterback, it's even accelerated more just because everything starts with you. So that being said and out of the way, you asked me about Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I think you just watch him. He looks like a high IQ player to me. And he's got escapability. He's got really good accuracy. He's gifted athletically, and he can throw from several different launch platforms. We've seen that. Obviously he's got good leadership skills because of the way that he's played throughout his career there. It looks like his accuracy sometimes on deep balls, needs some work, like all of them do. Looks like he's got good timing to me. And so just production-wise, he's the guy to me that sits at the top of this. Now, people are concerned about his size. You got a guy drafted down there in Arizona, Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. You had a Russell Wilson that came out later. Size, if you can operate, really is not going to matter. And here's the reason why. And I think it's a little bit of a hangover from the old days of the National Football League. You needed size back there because you were getting hit every time, and you could get hit every time after you threw it. And part of it was trying to see when you were playing defense back in the day, and I hate saying back in the day, but the game has changed. You used to see how fast you could get to the second-team quarterback during the game. You can't do that to him anymore. You just can't. Size does not become as big of an issue, especially now with the RPO looks and everything that people are doing. So Bryce Young, to me, is the number one prospect out there. Now, is it clear over C.J. Stroud? C.J. Stroud's a bigger player. He's a bigger player. But, Bryce Young, I think he's played at a really, really high level at a really high-profile place. And so, if somebody needs one, which they do, it's going to be pretty interesting at the top of this draft. To me, there's about four guys that separate themselves with, certain level of skill sets, with all of them different, that separate themselves from the guys from that other group that we all saw down at the Senior Bowl. And of those four, we talk about Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. Will just asked me about him. C.J. Stroud, to me, is in that group. Will Levis is in that group. And Anthony Richardson's in that group, even though he hasn't played a lot. He's got a lot of things to develop. And the fifth guy to me, if you're just looking at it, is Hendon Hooker.
Mm-hmm. Coach Mack with us on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And Coach Mack, you kind of led me to my next question about the separation between C.J. Stroud and Will Levis. How similar or different are those two guys?
Well, they're different. They're different physically.
Yeah.
They're different physically. So here's where the separation comes, Will. The separation comes within your franchise as to what you want.
Okay.
That's where the separation comes. The separation comes, from your offensive coordinator, from your head coach, from your quarterback coach, and what you philosophically want to do offensively. That's where the separation comes. That's why I said at the beginning of this, and I'll say it throughout the draft, anytime when I'm on talking draft, because it's the truth. There's two drafts, and the quarterback draft is what you want specifically because there's not one size fits all. Mm-hmm. And so you draft quarterbacks to what you are doing offensively and how you feel like they fit in to your overall philosophy. What kind of quarterback do you want to draft to play to the strength of your defense, to play to the strength of what you have surrounding him offensively, to play to the strength of the way you manage a game, with your special teams? All of that stuff comes into play when you're looking at quarterbacks. But just athletically, when you look at him, I think, C.J. Stroud's a bigger guy. He's got size. He's got instincts, I think, his mobility. Those are all pluses. I think he's got dynamic capability. He's got good arm strength. I don't think his arm strength is just overpowering, but he's an anticipatory thrower. To me, his ball security so far has been good as far as location. His pocket presence, you've seen him manipulate some defenses. Now, he needs lower body mechanic work, as they all do, needs some polishing. He's got a little bit of a long arm motion, but you're talking about a guy that's 6'3", 218 pounds that is really a good athlete and has played at a high level. So, as I said, it just depends on when you walk in the Baskin-Robbins which flavor you're going to point to in the counter.
Speaking of flavors, Coach Mack, I think it's important that, you break it down in a sense, because this is that time of the year where film study is huge, because you're looking at prospects and teams are too. But when you take the cameras and the production and the big networks away from the actual player on game day, I know some fans get confused when you say Will Levis is a first-round quarterback or Anthony Richardson is a first-round quarterback when you mention those types of things. But the differences between what media says when they're breaking down games and wins and losses is separate from what you see when you're doing film study on these guys, to where it's just like, oh, I see sprinkles of why this guy is a first-round draft pick, like an Anthony Richardson.
Well, I mean, anytime you take a quarterback in this league, as I say, you're going to have to develop it. Some are going to have a further development track than others. Talk about Anthony Richardson. You got a 6'4", 230-pound guy that's a dual threat. I mean, he's got arm strength and athletically, size-wise, I mean, it reminds me a little bit, we got those bigger strong-arm quarterbacks like Jared Allen was coming out, an athlete that, people were saying, wasn't accurate because of the way he threw up there at Wyoming, this and that.
Right.
But a big athlete with a big arm, that's what you've got coaches for, okay? The main thing is how can he handle being the guy and process everything that's going on? We're not even talking about that right now, but he's got escapability. Anthony Richardson, off-schedule plays. I mean, he can throw on the move. His accuracy, clearly, and his mechanics need work. I mean, but he's a powerful runner. I mean, you're talking about a big athlete back there that's got an arm that someone will take. He will be taken in the first round. I don't know who will take him. And when you start saying, well, is this guy a first-round pick? He's a first-round pick if your organization thinks he is and you need a quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's where you are. But when you look at him, this is a big athlete.
Speaking of another big athlete, Coach Mack, the NFL is a very trendy league, man, and Rhett kind of dropped this nugget a little bit yesterday on us. Bijan Robinson out of Texas. This could be a running back that goes in the first round again. What have you kind of, seen from him as the running game kind of takes a back seat to what the NFL is now in passing? It's still a run-first league when you got a unique guy like him out of Texas.
Well, it really hadn't taken a back seat. What Kansas City runs for, 158 yards?
That's true, Coach Mack. That's very true.
158. I mean, there's frosting on the cake that everybody likes, but the cake's important too.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bijan Robinson to me is the number one back in this draft, and because I mean he's got that ability to stick his foot in the ground and to make real quick yards when his foot does go in the ground. I think he has separated himself. I think the next guy that even has a chance to maybe go in the top 31 picks, because there's only 31 picks in the first round, right? Because Miami forfeited theirs for whatever. All right, anyway, Bijan Robinson, to me, separates himself from the rest of them. And the next guy that is a separation from him, but still I think is hanging on in everybody's mind. I mean, look, this is a long process that we're going through. We haven't even been to the combine yet, but the conversations have started, and and a lot of the feelers I got down there at the Senior Bowl. I spent a lot of time down there talking to people that that watch a lot of tape and that know, and that, I trust them and they trust me. And, anyway, Jameer Gibbs from Alabama. That's the next guy to me. So those two guys, but I think Robinson will be the first running back taken.
Okay.
Ramon.
For sure.
Great stuff as always with Coach Dave McGinnis, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans here Thursday mornings on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Coach Mack, we could go forever just on quarterbacks. It flies by. Appreciate the time as always.
Always appreciate being on with you guys. We'll have a lot to talk about now through the combine. See you.
Yes,
That's
sir.
Right. Yes, sir. There's Coach Mack with us this morning on the Marks Bay and Real Estate Hotline as we continue the conversation and finally get at the topic I've been wanting to go off on pretty much all morning.
Go off, King.
Travis Kelce needs to be reprimanded.
Go off.
For what he's done. Next, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Old School Vapor. As a former professional athlete, I have aches and pains that I deal with every single day, but I found Old School Vapor, and they are hands down the most knowledgeable when it comes to helping me get relief. And when I say that, I mean that in different ways. Like, they not only tell you what's good for you, they tell you how it works, when it'll work, how long it'll work. Like, there's so many different variations of CBD that helps you get relief. And speaking of variations too, you pet owners, there's a lot of products for pets and animals. I've actually been giving my dog some as he's been going through a little bit of a condition himself, because they craft these things to make sure that you have some relief. And I think that's a huge part. And Old School Vapor will give you all the knowledge you need to make sure that you're getting the right products for you or your fur babies too. If you go shop at Old School Vapor, they have a selection over 200 legal CBD products like Looper, Torch, Hidden Hills, and more. And if you use Elf Bars, Old School Vapor has over 100 authentic flavors for only $18.99 each. You can check out the other sales like buy one, get one free on select Esco bars, 25% off glass pipes, and you can check them out on Instagram or Google Old School Vapor to find the nearest location for you. They have 4 of them around the city. They have them in Franklin, both ends of Spring Hill, Columbia, and of course, there's more to come. That's Old School Vapor, and these products contain nicotine, which is an addictive chemical, and you must be 21 years or older to purchase, and not a single sale to minors.
Join 104.5 The Zone for our 2023 Spring Golf Classic. That's coming up Monday, April 10th at Greystone Golf Club. Will be here before you know it. Located in historic Dixon, the 2023 Spring Golf Classic, a day accompanied by great food, cocktails, prizes, so much more. Choose between 2 flights, 8 a.m. or 1 p.m., and spend the day teeing off with us Monday, April 10th. For more info or to purchase a team, visit 1045thezone.com.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. I have no issue with players and coaches motivating themselves however they see fit. Mm-hmm. Just don't tell us when you're being completely irrational about it.
Well, when they're getting ratioed about it, tell us. Well, go off, man.
Travis Kelce told Kansas City and the world yesterday that there were some of us that didn't think they would make the playoffs. Here's what he had to say.
Let me take you back to 2022 in the month of maybe April. Guys were getting signed left and right. The haters were saying that the Chiefs would never make the playoffs. The haters were saying the Chiefs were done. If you knew the Chiefs were going to win the division, let me hear you say, hell yeah. All right now.
Buddy, listen. I don't know why this became a thing this year between Georgia football saying nobody believed in us. Top 5 preseason team. Kansas City, they didn't think we were going to make the playoffs. Had the 3rd best Super Bowl odds in the preseason this year. Travis, you're a really, really good player. Usually the kind of people that have to talk like that aren't really, really good players.
Yeah, come on.
Buddy, let the conversation that we're having about you right now be that you might be the best tight end in the history of this sport. Because he can make that argument already. Yeah. And he can already definitely say that he's the best tight end in NFL postseason history. Yet instead, we're talking about you making really stupid claims on a day that, we should be celebrating you and your team. If you want to cut wrestling promos, do what Gronk did and retire and go to the WWE or whatever 3-letter acronyms they're doing wrestling in nowadays.
I love it.
Travis Kelce, please, I beg of you, do less.
You asking for him to pipe down, Will?
So much.
Nobody
thought they weren't going to make the playoffs.
How deep I gotta dig for you to pipe down?
This was not a belief anyone had. And no, whoever in the chat says stop being soft. This is not me being soft. This is everyone else being soft on him. Oh, he can say whatever he wants to. He can. Why are you being soft on him? I think everyone else needs to call out a guy for just being an idiot. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean that you are above the burden of proof for having to be held accountable for just making things up.
But it was all worth it just for this.
Making things up.
It was. Just say, Will.
Lying is cool, I guess, but I don't what it.
Well, we're not here for that. We're not here for that. Well, hey, speak your piece and live in it, man. Travis Kelce, what you say? We didn't know if you was gonna win the Super Bowl, but y'all was gonna be in play. That's safe to say.
Goodness sakes.
I'm with you, Will.
The only thing that they were doubted is it's not going to be a slam dunk. They're going to win the division. Justin Herbert was better.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson before he just.
Josh Allen was better.
Well, not just being in the division.
In the division.
You had Derek Carr, Devontae Adams. The division was going to be more competitive.
Yeah. And maybe he turned on those networks before they actually changed the narrative at the beginning of the season because there was a bunch of free agency moves and stuff like that probably had him upset about it. I get it. Herbert was supposed to take off this year. He was. I give him that.
And he's really good.
Yeah, he is really good. I give him that one.
But nobody was making the claim they weren't going to make the playoffs.
No. All right now.
It's all worth it. That ticks me off more than him saying everybody doubted him. They're in the same boat. I'm with you.
I'm more okay with Juju Smith-Schuster's trash talk than I am with Travis Kelce's.
All right now.
At least Juju is being honest about what he has to say.
Yeah.
He's kind of a menace to society. But
he is right now. He actually went off again. He told him that was cap. He said, I told you we was going to beat y'all during the game. I was like, oh, it's getting spicy out here.
Yeah, at least he's honest about it.
Yeah, he's honest about it. Shay, what does he say again? And what's the other one?
All right now.
Hey, Kyle Shanahan, is Travis Kelce ever going to stop trying to cut wrestling promos?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
I really don't either. So honestly, maybe I'm the one that just needs to cool it.
Go to break.
All right.
All right now.
You sound like somebody grandmama on that one.
All right now.
Well, coming up next, Ramon, we'll recap a win for a team last night who actually was doubted. The Tennessee basketball Volunteers.
Talk about it, Will.
It's a Tennessee thing, beating Alabama. We recap it next at halftime of the show. Coming up next, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
7:59. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. Last night, the basket Vols returned to their winning ways on Rocky Top. Sakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi each scored 15 points as number 10 Tennessee defeated Alabama 68-59. The Vols handed the Tide their first conference loss of the season. They also forced Bama into 19 turnovers. Alabama's loss was the 8th by an AP number 1 team this season. On the college basketball yesterday, Belmont crushed Evansville 95-63. Former Titans head coach Ken Whisenhunt has joined Alabama's football staff as a special assistant to Nick Saban. Whisenhunt's son-in-law, former Titans quarterback Zach Mettenberger, is an Alabama analyst. Jags wide receiver Calvin Ridley has applied to the NFL to be reinstated from his indefinite suspension for gambling. To the association, the Grizz defeated the Jazz 117-111. Grizzlies have won 3 of their last 4. And to the ice tonight, top team in the NHL taking on the Predators. Bruins versus Preds, 7 o'clock, the face-off for that. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into the second half of the show, hour number 3 off and running on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Coming up, where Tennessee now stands in Joe Lunardi's bracketology. They moved up a line last night with a win over top-ranked Alabama. 19 turnovers, 11 Tennessee steals, and a big-time win over number 1. Grant Ramey of VolQuest.com stops by coming up in 20 minutes to discuss that and much, much more with Ramon Foster.
Yay.
Kayla Anderson.
Say my name.
Is not here.
What? Hey, dude. Love it, Shafe.
Kayla Anderson, the day off. The best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, spinning these hits and much more.
Oh, the world.
My name is Will Bowling.
That's the boy.
And the time is now to not only slander Travis Kelce, but take your phone calls at 615-737-1045. I think me and David Long now have that in common, that we're both just Travis Kelce haters.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. David Long, wow, yeah. Forget that. They went at it that weekend. Sure did.
Yep.
Wowzers.
To the phones. Oh, this is cool. So we go from having one Super Bowl champion to another one who's just called in.
Who?
Patrick Mahomes is on the line.
Oh, let's
Hey, Patrick, congrats on the parade yesterday. How was it?
I don't remember. It was fun, I think. I'm still a little loopy from it. Listen, I haven't been this loopy since my last Super Bowl win. Hey, I liked your show with that girl on it because you guys were awesome Monday, and then you had my guy Smith on there yesterday, and now it's like she leaves and you lose all control. Stop slandering my boy Travis Kelce. Listen, he's not wrong. When everybody was talking about it last offseason. Look, we sent the cheetah down to play with the Dolphins in the sea, and everybody said we're done. And here we are winning again. So he's not wrong. You leave him alone. I'm going to go eat some cheeseburgers with my coach.
All right now.
Patrick Mahomes, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much, Patrick.
Wait to figure out who that is.
No, it's Patrick Mahomes.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
What are you talking about? It's Patrick Mahomes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
all
great.
right. Y'all say it's Patty? Or it's Patty then?
That's great to the credibility of this show. That's how we go from number 7 up to, top 3, but we ain't 3 or 2.
Top of the charts.
Is by getting former NFL MVPs and Super Bowl champions to join us.
I'm here for
Thanks,
that,
Patrick.
Will.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Patty.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Thank you, Patrick.
It's the Kermit voice that kind of gets me a little bit.
That's the Patrick voice. What are you talking about?
I knew that, but I just
What voice? I mean, that's him.
That's him.
Look, is there, Mr. Shanahan, is there any way that is not Patrick Mahomes?
I'm saying scenario that's very true. I'm here for it.
615-737-1045. If any other NFL MVPs are listening and want to stop by, any other people with Super Bowl rings. Joe Lenardi yesterday, a known Vols hater, not really. He just kind of became a Tennessee villain last year when he didn't have Tennessee as a 1 seed.
What, you going to call him a war criminal too?
No, that's just reserved for Pat Adams. Pat Adams and Jerome Boger. I wonder if they're friends. Pat Adams and Jerome Boger.
I'd probably guess yes.
You think they know each other?
100% they know each other.
I'd love to be in the same room with those two guys.
They have yearly guys trips with other people that are like them.
The Bad Referee Society.
Oh, we don't speak about bad referees. BRS. Okay. All right. That's fair.
Tennessee, go ahead.
I'm surprised you never did any refereeing. Officiating.
My dad did.
Your dad
was a high school basketball ref for a while.
For a while?
Mm-hmm.
Papa Bowling just in these streets,
I
man.
know. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I have enough fun doing it off the field.
You just like heckling people. That's what you do. you much rather heckle people.
Not really.
Yeah.
I guess you haven't. Well, you haven't been to a game with me.
No, we were around the same
We've been
area.
around a game, but we've never been like in the game together.
You a different animal at games?
Not really.
You sure?
I've gotten better.
Okay, so what does getting better mean? And like last night, if you were at that game at TBA, Vols versus Bama, would you have been unhinged?
Well, that's odd of you to assume I've ever hinged to begin with.
Especially
against Bama?
Against Bama?
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm reasonable.
That sounds like a person with a problem.
I'm reasonable.
Shay, does that sound like a person with a problem or not?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
When I was a student, no. Don't see any scenario of that happening. But that's what being a student is for.
I was more chill as a student going to the games.
Well, but you had a reputation to uphold. Nobody knew who I was.
So you just go.
You were hosting recruits. You were out there just, shaking babies and kissing
Not
hands.
shaking babies.
Shaking babies and kissing hands.
No, okay. You flipped
That's not how it goes.
Okay. But no, like my one time in which I wilded out and like lost my voice at like a UT game. You want to know which one it was? And I think this is a game I saw you. The Ole Miss game. The mustard bottle game.
Yeah.
I got lightheaded. I was standing
that
up.
one I was unhinged for.
Ooh, you hear me out, Will. I was losing my noodle in that game, man. Like, legitimately, I was just like, golly. I see
an ointment for that.
I mean, for real. Like, I was like, I get it. That was why I was like, I get why this is addictive. Going to those games and just being around everybody that's like you, I don't know if I'd be able to contain myself in like a road game. Like, you're bold, Will, to go on the road the way you do and just be decked out in like UT orange because I know it get toxic.
I'm a lot more careful in road games.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless somebody like provokes me.
Uh-huh.
Like when I got a couple A&M students thrown out of the 06 Cotton Bowl when I was like 9.
Yeah.
Or was it 05 or 06?
It was 05.
It was 05. When I got some A&M students
January
thrown
05.
out of the 05 Cotton Bowl because their big thing they yell is like, farmers fight. And me at age 8 was going, orange and white, like right in their faces. And we beat them it was like 42-6 or something. Like we crushed A&M in that game.
Oh, my.
And these guys were like flipping 8-year-old me the bird and like drinking their Crown Royal and Coke and just having a great time.
Really?
And they received an early trip to the showers.
Well, I got to be Crown Royal and Coke.
That's what they were drinking, literally. Like,
is it really?
No, yeah, that's 100%. That's like literally, like that's why they were like,
okay.
These people, like the security, like realized what they were doing. We're like, hey, like y'all can't be like flipping off 8-year-olds and bringing in whiskey to the 06 Cotton Bowl, 05 Cotton Bowl.
I will say
that was
this.
05. That's right. I remember.
It was 05. It was January 05. That was the year everything changed. I went and had surgery right after that.
That was when Vault was a thing. The soft drink.
Yeah. Oh,
they handed out Vault walking out of that game.
Oh, my
I don't know
gosh.
why I remember that.
Yeah.
But there was that, and then in the Outback Bowl that you played in
Tampa,
there was Cherry Vanilla Dr. Pepper.
I do remember
that they handed out walking out of the state. I don't know why that was a thing for like soft drinks to start being sampled at bowl games. But I remember that very vividly.
Yeah. No, that is a different beast, man, when it comes down to like SEC road games.
Right.
Like that, and I can't wait to see what the SEC tournament is going to be like at Bridgestone.
Oh,
too.
man, it's going to be fun.
That's going to be fun. It's probably more chill. Last night I was going to ask that question. Are basketball crews more chill? No, they're not. On that bad call against Adu last night and the no call and then the foul when they both kind of fell to the floor, some lady who was sitting right next to the scores board, she had to check herself. She was like, oh, okay, be calm. And then the ref came over there and he was, being explained what was happening. And she just kind of sat back and she was talking with him and trying not to get out of her seat. It was hilarious to watch her try to control herself.
So a lot of the places we go for road games, because again, this is like I'm learning with you. There are a lot of things that you haven't experienced just like as a fan.
So many.
Like explaining tailgating. And like going to road games and like we've got to go to a road game because I sat with Slay at the LSU game last year. Slay was friends with because we came down there for the second half.
Yeah,
Slay was friends with everybody in his section, and none of them were Tennessee fans.
He said he almost got a guy though too.
Yeah, well, one guy knocked over his beers, and then he was kind of side eyeing Slay a little bit about it. And then but the guy knocked over Slay's beers, and like the guy was mad. Like it was a whole thing. But we sat down next to Slay. And it was just like Slay and one of my brother's friends. And me and my dad and my brother walked down because they had open seats with them. And this LSU fan behind us loudly just goes, oh, God, there's more of him.
you daggone right.
And I was just like, we were in the UT section and we moved down at the LSU section. But a lot of the places I'll go, like we'll end up making friends with the people around us.
That's usually that's security right there.
So one of my buddies, we had an exam the next morning at 8 a.m. Yet we went to Rupp for a 9 p.m. tip-off our senior year. And we went up there. And so the thing about Kentucky basketball fans, and I'll tell this to anybody who will listen, Kentucky basketball fans that go to Rupp Arena and are in that building are awesome.
They are?
They're great. They're very nice. They know the game of basketball really, really well. I mean, they gave Chris Lofton a standing ovation before one of his last games in there because he's a Kentucky guy that they didn't offer, and it was like, hey, you're one of us. Congrats on a great career, things like that. So right after that game, so that was Tennessee's first win in Rupp since 2006. So that was 2018. This would have been my junior year. Tennessee wins that game. Lamonte Turner hits the late three. Admiral Schofield dunks at the very end of the game to seal it.
Seal it. Yeah, I remember.
And this guy patted us on the back, and I was like, "Uh-oh!" Like we're gonna, because we were cheering at that point. Like we were quiet the entire game. So me and one of my best friends, and then when we sealed it, we were loud, as you should be, And he patted me on the back, and I was like, "Oh no!" He shakes my hand and goes, "You guys are good fans, and you deserve to see a win driving up here as students on a school night." I was like, you know what? Respect. So when you go to the buildings like Alabama football fans, I'll give them credit, in Bryant-Denny Stadium, have been good to me.
Well, you had a different experience than I did, because being on the field.
But I wasn't playing. I was, you had about 250 pounds and, a lot of athletic ability on me at that point.
I will say that, what year was it? Alabama 07? It was 06 or 07. We played down there. Listen to me. When did we play them down there? In odd years or even years? Odd. So it was 07.
Yeah.
We played them down there in 07. And I think it was the emergence of Nick Saban.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, we were a good team, and we ended up playing the SEC championship that year, too. So we were a good team. That's by far, what are they? I think they were right at 90,000 then. I think they're a little bit more now.
A little bit smaller than us.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I've never in my life heard a crowd just go so wild than it was in that time. And that was just the match of the Saban era right there. And I think we ended up getting them in 06. Hey, dog, hear me out. That was a loud, obnoxious SEC crowd. And I appreciate it now because we're that way too. But, boy, that was ugly. So, yeah, you talking about the fan experience being nice. No, they are not nice to the players on the field.
Well, and everybody has
shouldn't be.
Everybody has their crazies. I think I've been to Tuscaloosa, I want to say 4 or 5 times for football. I was there in 03 for the 5 overtime game. Which I don't think they were nice to us then because we beat them. But they've always actually been decent.
Yeah.
Because the ones that are crazy, that are idiots that, went to random schools that are nowhere close to Alabama, those are the ones that you got to worry about. And they don't really, the ones that go to the games are great.
You said go to UAB with the Alabama fans?
I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Sally asked me in the chat, you haven't been to Rupp yet? No, I've never been to Rupp.
And granted, like we still got like trash talked on our way out of there. Now the Kentucky fans that are not as nice are the ones that go to the football games.
Ooh.
Because I had beer thrown on me for the first time when I was in middle school. After one of the overtime wins over Kentucky. One of the overtime wins over Kentucky. Not the one you were in, but the next one with Montario Hardesty.
Oh,
in overtime in 09.
Uh-huh.
I got beer thrown on me at that one, like from the upper deck.
God, dog.
Yeah, they don't like us. It's fine.
That's fine. Everything's fine.
Coming up next, VolQuest's Grant Ramey joins the conversation. We'll get his thoughts on, has his opinion on the ceiling of this Tennessee team changed in the last 2 weeks? You've had a lot of bad. You still lost 3 of 5, but you have your signature win last night over this Alabama team. We'll get his thoughts on how the new rotation sparked something different in this Vols team to beat the Crimson Tide last night in Thompson Bowling Arena. Grant Ramey on the other side. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. And as you know, whether the weather outside is warm or it'll just get cold all of a sudden in the middle of the night out of nowhere, heating maintenances, they are in full swing. And Lee Company's expert HVAC technicians, they're going to perform a 22-point inspection and seasonal cleaning maintenance. So keep your HVAC running efficiently and keep your home warm this winter because you know the weather is going to randomly change here at a moment's notice in Middle Tennessee. Lee Company's got nearly 80 years of experience. They've been trusted since 1944. They're open 24/7, and you hear me talk about them all the time. They've got 14 community locations, and they are very involved in our communities, whether it's Little League, high school sports, local events, or sponsorships. These are the folks that you trust because they're a part of the community just like you and me. Give them a call at 615-567-1000. They're online at leecompany.com. With heating maintenances in full swing, let Lee Company help you. 615-567-1000. That's Lee Company, all you need.
Tennessee comes up with a loose ball. Top of the key, Ziegler steps back, a three on the way. Good! Money! Ziegler's got 3 3-pointers tonight. He's playing great.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Tennessee with the win over top-ranked Alabama last night. As we dive into that on the Mark Spade Real Estate Hotline with our good friend Grant Ramey from VolQuest.com with Ramon Foster. I'm Will Bowling. Good morning, Grant. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How you guys doing this morning?
Good morning.
We're good. And this Alabama team, the best shooting team in the SEC, 47% in conference play. They shoot 35% for the game and 29% in the second half. Grant, you've watched a lot of Tennessee basketball. Where does this rank among the best defensive performances you've seen under Rick Barnes?
Probably the toughest, probably the most intense. I think Alabama was more than deserving of being the number one team in college basketball. They felt like that maybe for a little bit now, especially since Purdue slipped up a couple times. But just what Brandon Miller's done all year, the way they've scored it, what they've done home and away, neutral floors, it's been pretty consistent. They've lost here and there, but not much. So for Tennessee to come in down Julian Phillips, down Josiah Jordan-James, shortened rotation, obviously you got 8 guys basically that you're leaning on, and to play that hard for 40 minutes coming off. I mean, college basketball is, home court advantage probably means more in that sport than maybe in any other sport. But for Tennessee to come out as desperate as it was after the last couple of weeks, after the last 2 games specifically, and play that tough and that intense on the defensive end, it was very much what this team needed. And they closed out a huge win the way they needed to and the way they had to.
Grant Ramey of VolQuest, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Jonas Aidoo records his first career double-double in this one as well. Did you expect anything close to that from him in this, his third career start?
No, he had started to kind of progress toward that. There was a game at Ole Miss, I think, to start SEC play where he had like 10 and 9, and I asked him after that game, like, are you ever going to get a double-double? Because a game or two before that he had like 9 and 9 or 9 and 10 or something. He was right there at it. He just hadn't done it yet. And then it felt like the last couple of months he'd maybe taken a step back a little bit. So he kind of got back to what he was progressing toward. I think he's a really good basketball player, and I think he's only going to get better. But for him to have that kind of performance, 12 and 11, I think he had 3 blocks as well, played 27 minutes in that big of a game. That speaks huge volumes for him and kind of where he can be in the future or where he might be headed toward.
And that's why I was going to go to for a guy like himself that cracked through that, you know what I'm saying? As far as making a splash in a really big game, what is the expectation for a guy like that? Because it's not your starters that really have to play those big roles. It is you must have a deep bench moving forward before tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, Rick said it last night. Like, players got to come in, they got to make plays. When it's a big moment, players got to make plays. And Jonas had a couple little bunnies where he finished short of the rim, and it's like, come on, man, you're 7 feet tall, you got like a 12-foot wingspan, just finish when you're that close to the rim. But he would bounce back, and he had a huge block that set up some stuff on the offensive end. So for guys like that, the role players, the guys off the bench to come in and make those plays when they had to, because Tennessee was shorthanded. And Tennessee, when you're missing 2 starters who play combined like 50 minutes, I think, per game, 48 minutes, whatever it was between Josiah and Julian, you're going to have to get different guys to step up and make plays. That's what good teams do, and that's what Tennessee was able to do, and they needed every single one of them for sure. I
told Will in our first hour, I was like, man, I do have a bone to pick. And that's with Tyreek Key, man. And I know his shots weren't dropping. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but his necessity to be more brash with the ball, to be more selfish with the ball, what do you think is, why is it not in his wheelhouse now to just start taking those shots more often or being more aggressive?
I mean, I think we're trending toward that. After the last 3 games, I think Rick told him a couple days before the Vanderbilt game, that they didn't bring him here to just facilitate and to not be a guy that goes out and seeks his shot. And on nights like the second half against Missouri, when he went off and hit 5 3-pointers, it looks great. On nights where he struggles against Alabama last night, where he goes 1 for 9, it doesn't look so good, but he's a volume shooter who you need to take that number of shots, even if it's a night where he's struggling. And he had Brandon Miller on him most of the game, who looks like he was created in some kind of basketball factory. So I don't blame him for struggling against that Alabama defense. That's another thing. Alabama's extremely good offensively. They're just as good defensively. I think they're 5th in the country in adjusted efficiency. So he had some tough assignments last night, but I think he made a lot of progress the previous two games, and it was good to see him again against Alabama, even though shots weren't falling, looking for his shot, because that's what Tennessee needs him to do.
Great, Ramey of VolQuest at On 3 with us this morning on 104.5 The Zone. Speaking of Brandon Miller, it's incredible that you can hold a guy to 15-10 and feel like you kind of shut him down a little bit, which Tennessee was able to do. Has a player ever changed a game more with 0 points than Jemai Mashack did last night?
No, that's what I mean. I was sitting next to Rob Lewis after the game, and he just pointed out, hey, Jemai led the team in plus-minus. He was +9. He played 27 minutes. He didn't score a single point. I mean, he was 0 for 4 from the field. I think he took a 3. I think he had a couple of 3 rebounds, something like that, a couple of assists. But for him to do what he did defending Brandon Miller was insane. Somebody said, I don't know if it's true or not, that Brandon only scored 4 points when Jemai was defending him. So, yeah, I mean, it is crazy to think 15-10 for Brandon Miller is like a slow night. That's the kind of freshman year he's had, and that's the kind of basketball future he has ahead of him, how freakish he is. But for Jemai to do that, to impact the game the way he did, to lead the team in plus-minus and not score a single point while playing 27 minutes, that tells you how elite of a wing defender he can be. And when he finds some offense, when he's made a lot of progress year over year on the offensive end. You're not seeing the results yet, but he does have a lot more smoother of a jump shot, and it looks like he's a lot more comfortable on that end of the floor. When the offense catches up a little bit, he's going to be a really good basketball player.
Grant, I know Coach Barnes is a very smart, strategic guy. At the latter part of the game, he took a timeout, and it seemed like it was strategic enough to let Vescovi get fouled so he can make free throws. Earlier towards the closer part of the game, he missed one on the front end again, man. Do you think he's trying to push him into those situations more as of late to kind of get him out of that mental block? I think some people in baseball call it the yips. Like, he's almost got it at the free throw line late in the game now.
Yeah, for sure. And Rick, one thing Rick did Saturday night, he was extremely upbeat considering the loss that had just happened to Missouri and what had just happened against Vanderbilt a few days earlier, and those two losses back-to-back, as crazy as it was, as awful as the week was for Tennessee. He was very upbeat and positive because of what Tennessee had found in the second half against Missouri. I mean, they erased a 17-point deficit. They scored 53 points in the second half alone. For the offensive struggles this team has had, that's obviously a huge number. And he was very upbeat and positive and kind of in Santi's corner, saying he felt bad for Santi. He felt like Santi was going to respond. He was going to get back there again. He was going to hit those shots when he got another chance. And it did kind of have that feeling when he missed the front end of that 1-on-1. I think it was about 1 minute and 20 seconds left. I think it might have been an 8-point lead. He missed it, and then Alabama came down and hit a 3, and suddenly it's a 5-point game with about 1 minute left, and you're thinking, no way this is going to happen again, right? It's not going to play out the same exact way. But for him to take that time out for Santi, I think Santi hit 4 free throws over the final 41 seconds. Obviously, that's huge for Santi. Santi also just played a huge role in the second half. I think he scored 12 of his 15 points in the second half. He had a couple of huge corner threes. He had 8 rebounds. He had 3 steals. So for him to bounce back the way he did, and obviously we talked to him after the game. We asked him what he was thinking when he was at the foul line. He said he couldn't say the word he wanted to say, but he was thinking, just hit a freaking free throw, man.
No doubt.
Grant, when you look at this team without Josiah Jordan-James now, 2 of their best wins of the season come without him on the court. How do you make sense of just this team's success, even despite him not being there? And isn't it kind of feel like if you felt like there was one game you needed to have him, it was to match up with Brandon Miller and to kind of go one-on-one with him throughout this entire game?
Yeah, and it's not just Josiah, it's Julian, too. Julian Phillips
Right.
is a very good defender for a freshman, and obviously they have very similar they play the same position on the wing. They have very similar body types, the long, athletic guys that can cause problems. So you would want not only one of those guys, you want both of those guys. I don't really know how to make sense of this team plays really well when they are shorthanded. Maybe it's just a kind of a magnified focus on each individual. Like, I got to step my game up a little bit because we are shorthanded. Maybe they're all trying to kind of make up for what they're missing. But obviously, Josiah's a guy you want back because he's a good basketball player. He's a leader on this team. He's done a lot for this program. And Julian's a guy that he hadn't put up huge numbers, but pretty steadily he's averaged decent numbers, points, rebounds, what he does defensively. He impacts the game a lot. So you want those guys back, but at the same time, it's kind of, I don't know. I think it speaks well that this team is able to find ways to win big basketball games when they don't have some of the bigger names available.
Grant, it was interesting last night hearing Jay Billis on the ESPN broadcast be so positive about this team still and essentially say, look, I think Tennessee is still a Final Four potential level team. They're going to be fine, and basically ran through the reasons why the Vols had those two just crazy losses last week. Wanted to ask you, has your opinion of this team's ceiling changed at all over these past couple of weeks?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, the Vanderbilt game, that's tough. You got to win that basketball game because you had the chances in the final minute. You had a defensive breakdown in the final possession, and you tip your hat to that kid in the corner, Tyron Lawrence, who made that huge shot right in front of the Vanderbilt bench. I mean, that's a big shot in a big moment. Against Missouri, I think it was almost, I don't know, coming back from 17, that looked like a trouble spot for me, a huge trouble spot. Like, this team's down 17 at home with 17 minutes left against a Missouri team that's not been good on the road. So for them to find a way to get back in that game, to turn that 17-point deficit into a 6-point lead, that spoke volumes, even though that final shot did go in. And Santi missed a free throw, and it left the door open, and credit them. They made a huge desperation kind of, it's not a miracle shot, but it was a very difficult shot. And it goes in, and that's just basketball sometimes. But I don't think my opinion changed, because my opinion has always been Tennessee's going to have to find a way to play the level of defense we saw last night away from home consistently, especially on a neutral floor when March gets here. And they're going to have to find guys that can hit shots and make plays and score enough points to make that defensive effort stand up. That's the thing. They can beat anybody in the country on any given night, especially at home, especially against a sold-out crowd behind them. Now, can they take that on the road? Can they take that to Kentucky Saturday and play a huge game there? Can they take that on a neutral floor in the NCAA tournament in the first weekend? Can they get back to the Sweet 16 using that formula? That's always been the question to me. A bad couple weeks didn't really change that, even though when stuff did go wrong, it felt like it went disastrously wrong.
Coming down the stretch, man, who's the guy that you need to see take over? Or is it more of Coach Barnes' coaching philosophy that's got to be tweaked down the stretch too? Because it is getting tight. You got A&M last night getting another big win. I think we saw it 11-2 in the SEC. Tennessee's kind of lost to some bad teams. Like, where is the switch for either the player or either Coach Barnes to get this team to where they don't get into the tournament if they're a 2 seed losing to a 15 seed or something?
I think the switch, I think the guy that has to do it is Zakai Ziegler. I mean, you look at his January numbers. When Tennessee was playing some of his best basketball, he was playing some of his best basketball. He was averaging like 13 and 8 a game. And then you look at the first couple weeks of February, this stretch where Tennessee played poorly, it's because Zakai, I think, didn't play that well. He struggled a little bit. I don't think it all falls on him, but I think he's one of the guys that makes this team go. He kind of where everything starts for this team. In my opinion. So last night he scores 15. He hits a couple shots early to get going. I think he had 8 assists. I don't think he had a turnover in almost 36, 37 minutes, something like that. So I think when this team plays at its best, it's a direct reflection on how Zakai Ziegler's playing. Mm-hmm. And I think when this team plays poorly, I think it also starts with Zakai. And you need that point guard play away from home when things get tough. You need that point guard play in March when things get tough. You need him to be the guy that can not only drive and score in the paint, which we've seen him do despite his size against taller defenders, but also the guy that dumps off to Urosh or to Jonas in the paint and they finish with the dunk, or just getting to the free throw line. He's a guy that can do that for them. I think everything begins and ends with this team with how Zakai's playing.
So, Grant, on the way out, one of my favorite things about when Tennessee wins is when Dick Vitale on Twitter will not only give a shout-out to Tennessee, but we'll give a shout-out to Mike Wilson. Like, for whatever reason, every time Dick Vitale tweets about Tennessee basketball, he tags Mike Wilson. How much is Mike paying for this endorsement from Dickie V?
Listen, I don't want to make any accusations here, but Dick was in town for, I can't remember what game that was, a couple of weeks ago, maybe Auburn. I saw Mike walk over there to take a picture with Dick before the game, so he needed the social media clout there with that picture. But also Mike had a duffel bag full of cash, so I don't know what he was doing with that duffel bag, but after that I didn't see it anymore, so who knows what happened.
Until, yep. And
I don't want to make any accusations, just for the record.
Of course.
Until he defends himself, what you said is law. That's all truth. I just need you to know that, okay? So he had duffel bags. We don't know where he got it from, but it was duffel bags full of money, correct?
Correct, and now he's getting tagged in tweets just like he has been. I don't know. Something's going on behind the scenes. We need a full investigation.
All right. This time on the way out, who's the fifth starter for the Atlanta Braves out of training camp this year, Grant?
I have no idea.
Perfect.
To be honest, I've looked at all the spring training stuff and everything's starting, and I'm thinking, man, I can't wait till Braves baseball is back. And then I was discussing it with my friend the other day, and we were just like, well, we can't wait to watch something every night that's gonna annoy us and get on our nerves like 5 times a week for 3 hours a night. We're welcoming that misery back into our lives. We can't wait for it.
Gotta love that's just when you open the Bally Sports app. We actually do quickly have Mike Wilson's response to what you have to say here today.
That was disrespectful.
There you go.
That's very disrespectful.
Perfect.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
This is what happens when he tells stories about your pants on the show, and then we've got a big boulder rolling down a hill now that we just can't stop. So yeah, there you go. Grant,
I haven't forgotten my pants since then. Chris, shout out to me.
Proud of you.
Self-shot. Self-shot out.
Grant Ramey, our resident Chicago Bear, Atlanta Brave, and Tennessee basketball guest here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Grant, appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, Grant.
Thanks to y'all.
All right, there's Grant Ramey with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Always stirring the pot with Mike anytime we can.
I was going to say, what's crazy? We are the one that are instigating this even more. And I think it's appropriate.
Of course.
It is appropriate,
Maybe
right?
we are Travis Kelce.
Maybe we are Travis Kelce.
Who's to say?
Us.
Okay, perfect. 615-737-1045 is our number, and we'll dive more into Vols and Bama coming up next. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 1045 The Zone.
All right now.
Join 104.5 The Zone and hundreds of other brave souls across the state for the coolest thing you'll do in 2023. The 23rd Music City Polar Plunge, Saturday, February 25th. That's next Saturday at Nissan Stadium. Doesn't feel very Arctic today, though. When you jump or put your toes in, whether you do each one of those, you'll be helping us to build a bigger, better, and cooler community for 17,000 plus Special Olympics athletes. For more info or to register, visit specialolympicscn.org/polar plunge today.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Jonathan Schaefer with you. Kayla Anderson, a very well-deserved 48 hours of rest and relaxation.
Yeah, it's necessary. Everybody needs a recharge, man.
It's interesting thinking about this Tennessee team and looking at just kind of the fan vibe around this team.
Yeah.
Is odd to me. Games like last night, to me, are actually more frustrating than the losses. Because the losses are obviously frustrating and annoying, but it's like fans are starting to get mad at this Tennessee team when they win big games. Like that's where I think Tennessee fans are mentally right now, because I'm right there with them.
Yeah, and I get it too. But you said it earlier, man. You make the most sense. It's like you got to appreciate these type of wins too. Like legitimate, like lay in the W column and like appreciate it, because let's not act like this has just been a norm across all sports. Like, legitimately, all sports right now are just living it. And me personally, I'm taking a stance of just saying, look, yeah, I want to enjoy every bit of it. I want to watch which baseball games we can attend, Will.
Just Friday. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Opening day.
I'm looking forward to seeing what football spring game look like. But right now, currently, where this team is, we got a top 10 team that's probably going to move up depending on what happens on Saturday. I mean, they got to move up regardless, I think, with Alabama taking an L to us.
Well, they won't pass Bama in the rankings.
No, they won't do that. But I'm saying probably for this to be a 6th to 7th ranked team, if they knock off Kentucky, Rupp Arena. That's what my brother-in-law, who's a Louisville grad, calls them Corrupt Arena.
Perfect.
But so I got double Kentucky hate in my family.
Yeah,
Will.
you do.
I do.
You really do.
But that's cool. Like, let's not get too ahead of ourselves and bashing. Like, we've did enough bashing as a fan base for the last at least 12 years, at least on one sport, football being the main beatdown. Embrace this, man. It's cool to be cool.
So where does Alabama basketball now rank among Tennessee's biggest rivals? Because this is becoming quite a rivalry.
Well, you know, my history in like Bama basketball ain't as fluent as Ron Slays is, but like I don't remember Alabama being a juggernaut in like basketball like that. So to say that they're him although they're the ones that knock,
right? They've
had some players that knocked on the door for sure, but program wise, nah, So ranking, this is just bragging rights for either fan base is how I view it now.
So the crazy thing is about this series is that Tennessee now trails the all-time series against Alabama in basketball 71-82.
Ooh.
Going back to 1914. I actually didn't know this until yesterday. This is only one of 2 SEC series where UT doesn't have the advantage in matchup history, which surprises me because you think about Nolan Richardson, Arkansas, what they've been able to do. Mm-hmm. You'd think Arkansas would have the advantage over Tennessee also. It's only Kentucky and Alabama who have beaten Tennessee more than Tennessee's beaten their opponent in the SEC in the history of college basketball.
Kentucky and Alabama?
That's it.
Really?
So Kentucky will always be the number one rival for this team. But kind of like Alabama football, Kentucky's kind of rivals with everyone.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Vanderbilt will always be second.
Yeah.
But behind that, I think it's Auburn and Alabama both.
Auburn and Alabama.
Because Auburn with Bruce Pearl and that entire dynamic, Bruce doesn't have animosity towards Tennessee because I think he actually still has a lot of love and appreciation for Tennessee. He kind of knows he messed up a pretty good thing.
That was so minor, though, wasn't it, man?
Oh, I know.
So if that didn't happen, is Bruce still there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he is.
He's a legacy guy. He wants to be
especially
that.
with NIL now.
Yeah.
The question with the rabbit hole we could go down is, though, is Tennessee better off still having Bruce Pearl or resetting and going with someone else? Because we talked about it when Tennessee beat Auburn 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Bruce Pearl is at his best when he's got the undersized 3-star grinders that are full court pressing, hitting threes, and doing the dirty work that makes his system what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets the blue chip prospects, it doesn't. I don't want to say it takes a little bit of a dip, but it plateaus a little bit for him. And when you get to that level, it's hard to keep ascending.
Yeah, that's
but the same thing happened at Tennessee. He had Tobias Harris and got beat by 30 in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Florida, by the way, too, obviously. Gator Mike chiming in on Twitter. Florida, the other rival.
Yeah, Florida, definitely.
That's just dipped a little bit. But those Bruce and Billy Donovan games were, whew.
Yeah, buddy.
I
think you're looking at the same monster in different variations when you look at Bruce versus Rick Barnes. Because they both have gotten, like really good guys. Like, I mean, looking at Kennedy Chandler last year, I mean, he slipped because of probably height being the reason, but he was that type of player to come through. Bruce had a similar player last year, and then, you know what I'm saying? So it's the same kind of conversation of they're both getting blue chip guys, but it's a matter of which one is ever going to crack that next egg to say, okay, we're going to get a whole breakfast now. And that breakfast is lifting that trophy at the end of the year. Neither one has really gotten to that point.
I think where Tennessee now is, too, is can they get a couple of these guys to stay another year? Like, can you convince Julian Phillips, say, look, yes, you have the highest ceiling of anybody on this team. You could probably go get picked still, and Slay will get more insight with us on this Tuesday next week because we asked him about this about a month ago of what would it take for Julian Phillips to come back for a sophomore season at Tennessee. Same thing with Kennedy Chandler. Same thing with Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer. When they didn't have that slam dunk lottery pick kind of one and done season, who is going to be the next Josiah Jordan-James to raise their hand and say, you know what, I'm not ready. I need another year. I need a little bit more time. Let me see what Rick Barnes can do with me, mold me into more of a finished product.
Yeah.
How much more can I make in my NBA career by staying at Tennessee longer? That's going to be the conversation now around Julian Phillips.
It is. I'll just go ahead and add my little bit. Basketball players got to go when they're hot more than any other sport, I think.
Of course. I'm with you. It's like
it's
like quarterbacks.
I hate it. I'm with you.
Literally. It's like quarterbacks. Yeah. 615-737-1045 is the number. Quickly into our number 4 this morning. And coming up next, we dive into the NFL headlines. And in the season of lists, Ramon Foster, ESPN has placed every NFL team in tiers. Now, one of those tiers is quarterback purgatory.
TIER or TEAR?
Yes. I'm so glad we were so quickly on the same page with that. The Tennessee Titans were not in the quarterback purgatory tier. They were in a worse tier.
Really?
Coming up next, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
9 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Last night, the basket Vols returned to their winning ways on Rocky Top.
Bradley going to the basket, puts the shot up, too late. It's over, and the Tennessee Volunteers have knocked off the number one team in the country. The Tide topples tonight as the Volunteers knock off Alabama.
Zakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi each scored 15 points as number 10 Tennessee defeated Alabama 68-59. The Vols handed the Tide their first conference loss of the season, also forced Alabama into 19 turnovers. Alabama's loss was the 8th by an AP number 1 team this season. Other college basketball action from yesterday, Belmont crushed Evansville 95-63. Former Titans head coach Ken Whisenhunt has joined Alabama's football staff as a special assistant to Nick Saban. Whisenhunt's son-in-law, former Titans quarterback Zach Mettenberger, is an Alabama analyst. Jags wide receiver Calvin Ridley has applied to the NFL to be reinstated from his indefinite suspension for gambling. To the NBA, the Grizzlies defeated the Jazz 117-111. The Grizz have won 3 of their last 4. To the ice tonight, top team in the league, the Bruins, visit the Predators at Bridgestone Arena. 7 o'clock will be the face-off. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into the fourth and final hour of the Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. All we're missing is Kayla. A very well-deserved 48 hours off for our capitalized J journalist who is headed for sunlight and drinks with tequila.
Yeah,
as she should. With Ramon Foster.
Yeah.
Jonathan Schaefer, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. ESPN puts everyone in tears.
Yeah.
TIERS in the NFL. The Tennessee Titans were not in the quarterback purgatory tier, which is where I first went to this article to find them.
Yeah.
No, they were in the tier below that of, quote, time to reassess the state of the franchise.
Really?
The 2 teams that joined them in said tier, the Los Angeles Rams.
I would have said them way before the Titans.
And the New England Patriots.
I thought the Patriots had a little bit more time.
Patriots have a young quarterback.
Yeah, they do, but everybody was so high on Mac Jones.
That's what I'm agreeing with.
Yeah.
Adding into this explanation, after playoff runs that bordered on overachievement, yikes, the Titans cracked at the seams in 2022, leaving a roster with several holes. Acquiring offensive line help through free agency or the draft will be crucial. Tennessee will likely move on from Taylor Lewan, $14.8 million cap hit, and guard Nate Davis will be a marquee free agent who's tough to keep.
Yep.
And then adding Ryan Tannehill's $36.6 million cap hit versus $18.8 million in dead money. Says Coach Mike Vrabel sounds like he wants to keep Tannehill based on recent public comments. Extending Jeffrey Simmons, a premier defensive tackle, will be a priority, and pass rusher Danico Autry is also a core player.
Yeah. A lot's got to happen. I said reassess where the franchise is.
Reassess the state of the franchise.
When you break it down like that, that's kind of fair. Nate being here, I don't know. If Nate's not here, boy, oh boy, like you legitimately got to make some stuff happen up front. But yeah, you got to figure out Tannehill. You got to figure out Derek also moving forward. It ain't just this year, I think, why they're in that tier. I think it's next year also. You just changed GMs. You have one of the better head coaches in this entire league, and we always make that conversation piece about, what is this offense and defense going to be moving forward with all these guys that are moving in and out. And, of course, like reassessing is one thing. Like you really seriously need to take a look at what's the health side of this team too, Will. I think that's kind of fair to say too, man.
I mean, it's a big question mark.
It is.
I mean, it's one of the question marks.
It is, especially when you look at other teams that may have only like 2-3 guys on IR. I mean, you got almost 16 to 20 guys in the last couple of years being on IR. I wonder what legitimately has changed when it comes down to how players are took care of. And I'm not saying Vrabel doesn't take care of his guys whatsoever, but that's a very fair question that needs to be assessed in this offseason, whether that be training, whether that be equipment, whether that be expectation of play, or if a guy's out, let him get healthy before going back out there on the field.
Well, and that's the question is, what are the Titans willing to change in order to change their injury luck? Because when it happens 2 years in a row, it's not about luck anymore.
Yeah. And you know what, though, too? It's kind of hard to say you need change when you also getting double-digit wins. You know, like, that's tough. You're one game and a quarterback being hurt away from winning the AFC South 2 years in a row. Or would that have been 3 years in a row? 2 years in a row.
It would have been 3 years in a row.
3 years in a row.
Yep.
But you look at the outlook of the AFC South, and you question what are the Colts going to end up being now that they got another offensive head coach that's had some recent success. If their owner can get out of the way, what is that going to look like? And, of course, you're going to play against a new quarterback in Houston, too. And you got the young guy with the long hair in Jacksonville.
Right.
So, yeah. That's a fair tier now that we've kind of talked openly about it, Will.
The tiers that ESPN and Jeremy Fowler has in this ESPN Plus article: major contenders, need a postseason breakthrough, headed on the right track. That's where they have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way.
What? The second team? Really?
Oh, no, I mean, they're listed alphabetically in these tiers.
I'm trying not to say their names on this.
The second team,
yeah.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
That one. Black and yellow guys.
Black and gold.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You have in a comfortable spot despite a losing season, which they don't have the Titans in.
Comfortable spot despite. Who are those teams, if you don't mind? If you got it in front of you.
Comfortable spot despite a losing season.
Let me guess one. Washington? Commanders.
Nope. Actually, there's only two teams that are in this, and I don't think either of them are in a comfortable spot.
Who are they then?
The Cleveland Browns. They have in a comfortable spot despite a losing season.
They're there every year.
I can't say I understand that one.
Yeah.
And then the Green Bay Packers. I don't think the Green Bay Packers are comfortable at all.
They're as comfortable as Aaron Rodgers is in that pit that he was in. Am I right on that one? Comfortable spot despite losing. Like, how many years can Cleveland be in that position?
Yeah. I mean, look, ever since that first year when Cameron Wake was wreaking havoc on Baker Mayfield.
That's true.
In 2019.
Yeah.
That was Jim Nantz and Romo did that game because they thought Cleveland was that team in 2019.
Cleveland.
The 5-time defending offseason champions of the NFL.
Team that'll let you down every offseason.
The QB purgatory part of this is a big group of teams. If we want to go through these two.
I didn't think it was that many teams that had QB issues this year.
Because a lot of these I don't see as being in purgatory.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because we don't know how many of these will have a first-round quarterback.
Okay.
Atlanta Falcons, they have in QB purgatory.
I agree with that.
That's fair.
Ritter, right?
Yep.
They're started to be.
Desmond Ritter. Las Vegas Raiders, QB purgatory.
I'll give them that one.
Post Derek Carr. Because Jarrett Stidham is not going to be the guy.
Oh, why not Derek? Jarrett Stidham. I can't even get it out
Jarrett
right.
Stidham.
I couldn't even troll that one correctly.
The New Orleans Saints, the definition of quarterback purgatory.
Did you see Cam Jordan? He put out a sales pitch for Derek Carr. He said he had taken a long break from social media. He came on social media just to say, Derek Carr, you look good in black and silver. How about black and gold in New Orleans?
How about the minus $59 million of cap space that they have?
What's he saying about Jameis by saying that?
That's also very true. I like Jameis. Maybe I'm just a fan of the guy, and I actually enjoyed his antics, man, when he was eating the W.
He's a funny dude.
I love Jameis.
I just can't take him seriously.
But he balled, though, for a while, though.
He went 30 for 30. He was at ESPN 30 for 30. He had 30 touchdowns and 30 picks.
But before
we don't talk about that enough.
And we don't talk about this enough either. That year before he tore his ACL, like he had that team on like humping, man, like I know, working.
But that's the full Jameis Winston experience.
Phrasing on that one.
You get 6 good weeks and then you get 6 bad weeks.
That's why you go 30 for 30.
That's why It's not the 6 good weeks that's the problem with Jameis. It's what happens after that.
30 interceptions is a lot of turnovers.
That's an unbelievable amount of interceptions.
So what did Cam Jordan say about Jameis Winston then? There's no opportunity to see Jameis there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
New York Jets, quarterback purgatory. I saw it. Some Jets account the other day was like, I'd rather have Mike White than Ryan Tannehill.
Well, no, you don't.
Yeah, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
I think Titans. So there are some Titans fans that would
and
rather.
I like
them
Mike
have
White.
Ryan.
Don't get me wrong. No, you don't.
Which team is Mike White on again? Oh, the backup guy you had there. Well, we'll see what Willie Colon got to say about that. We'll have him on tomorrow.
That's right. 2 more teams in quarterback purgatory. Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Kyle Trask really going to be the starter in Tampa? Do we really believe that?
What's crazy is the same thing we've been speaking about when it comes to those backup guys that are not first rounders. Kyle didn't go first, did he? He was second or third? Second. Is they have no film, so the question marks are always there. What was Kyle Trask to you at Florida? And didn't he go to LSU after that?
Kyle Trask in high school was still a backup quarterback.
Was he? Stop.
Kyle Trask,
I know you.
No, he was the backup to De'Aaron King in high school. Yes.
That's tough.
The former Houston quarterback.
They're almost in quarterback hell in Tampa then, if that's the case.
Tampa has 7 2023 draft picks, and they have negative $55 million in salary cap space.
So we've seen 2 teams oversell for a Super Bowl, Rams and also Tampa. And look where you find yourself at.
And I think that's a larger discussion that we can have about this Titans team. With the core that you currently have, would you rather take one shot at a Super Bowl and know that you've got about a 2-year window? Or would you rather sustain being at the top of the division for 10 years, but not have that all in? You don't have the big money veterans. You don't have the big money quarterback.
It's such a hard conversation. It is. And I'm over there. My eyes are closed just thinking about the scenarios, Will. We'll have to jot that one down and bring that one back up for sure.
Washington Commanders, other team, the last team in the quarterback purgatory spot, according to ESPN. I'm probably a prisoner of the moment. I thought Sam Howell was pretty promising at the end of that season for them.
But what's a Sam Howell?
Well, he sat for a year and he kind of stayed on schedule. And this is where I got to be honest for a minute. You give a rookie an ahead of schedule opportunity like that and they exceed expectations.
Yeah.
We saw the opposite happen here.
Yeah, we did. That's facts, Will.
You learn who you have in a quarterback when that guy's got to go in a little bit earlier than what the master plan is. I think even in Kansas City when Patrick Mahomes got his chance, it's easy to forget when the Titans knocked Kansas City out that season. John Gruden on that Monday Night Football broadcast was still advocating for, Alex Smith is still a good quarterback. I think they need to keep him and build around Alex Smith. I think Mahomes needs more time. And then after 1 year, it was Mahomes' time, and they haven't looked back, obviously, and they made the right decision. But that decision usually comes a little bit earlier than you think it's going to. And Sam Howell lived up to the expectation.
I'm going to jump out there and say this, too. Well, what the perspective of Anthony Richardson going there potentially, but I'm more optimistic about the Washington Commanders than almost any other team as far as being in that tier.
I think I'm with you.
Yeah.
Too much talent on defense.
You see also, I don't know if you saw it, but McGinnis going to interview for their OC job too.
Today. Adam Schefter tweeted that about 30 minutes ago. That interview takes place today, and goodness, who knows what else they're willing to do at the quarterback position with Eric Bieniemy leading the way at that spot. Like, are you more willing to go get Anthony Richardson if you're Washington, knowing that Eric Bieniemy is the guy that's going to help lead him to become a franchise QB?
And then on the other side of that sucks for Sam Howell. As I just trashed him and you sold me on him. But what happens when the first rounder comes in?
I know. And we'll put a pin in this discussion too because we got Jim Wyatt on the other side. That's the profile of a quarterback that makes sense for the Tennessee Titans.
Which one?
Is Sam Howell, Jordan Love, whoever loses out in San Francisco, like the young, unproven quarterback with high upside who you feel like didn't get a fair shot.
Yeah.
That's the guy that I think you're looking at way more closely than you're looking at Derek Carr or you're looking at Aaron Rodgers.
The real question is the business of it, though, Will.
Right.
Because they got the first-round tag.
And you've already got to give up draft capital that you don't have enough of to begin with because of the Julio Jones trade.
What's the pay for a guy, a player in that position?
What's the pay for them?
Yeah, because you got to go. Like, I think
Jordan Love, Howell, not much.
Jordan Love is up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, he's first-round pick.
So what are you willing to pay and trade for?
That's a good question.
I might ask Wyatt that, man.
And we'll get into that conversation and much more with Jim Wyatt, who was out in Phoenix last week for the Super Bowl and had a lot of conversations with San Francisco people because they were making a big media tour out there at the Super Bowl. But just with anybody who has affiliation with Rand Carthon and the new era of Titans front office management. We'll see if there's one conversation that stood out the most to Jim Wyatt while he was out there in the desert. Coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on a 104.5 The Zone with Ramon Foster. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer. Kayla Anderson, a very well-deserved day of vacation.
Yes.
We talk Titans with you here in hour number 4 as we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline and check in with our good friend Jim Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com. Good morning, Jim. I tell you what, man, you're like the most well-traveled guy in the business between Pro Bowl, between Phoenix, between Senior Bowl. How well-traveled do you feel after these past few weeks?
Well, I'm trying to get my feet back on the ground here in Nashville. I was on the road a lot. It's 14 nights and 4 plane trips and, a lot of interviews, but it was a good trip. I felt I always worry about going on a trip like that. You're going to catch some cold and be dragging at the end, but I was pumping the emergencies and trying to get some sleep and made my way through it. So I'm fortunate that the team lets me, do that. I enjoyed making all those trips, and I felt like, whether it was talking to Rand for, good length of time, and Hendon Hooker and some of the stories I did at the Senior Bowl, and then talking to a lot of people in Vegas at the Pro Bowl and the same, and at the Super Bowl. I hope it gave readers of TennesseeTitans.com a lot to digest, and it kind of now all of a sudden we're closing in on the combine and getting ready for the draft and free agency. So the NFL calendar just keeps on moving.
Jim, I don't realize you play for the NBA or the MLB, man. Like, you got an athlete schedule now. When did you sign your contract?
Yeah. I don't know if my contract looks like those guys, but I do pretty well, and it was cool. I mean, it was the Phoenix part of it was I enjoyed that, especially at the end, and kind of put a capper on the NFL season, and now it's really going to end here week from Monday.
So, Jim, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here with this, but was there one conversation that stood out to you the most from all of your travels, whether it was in Phoenix or Mobile or the Pro Bowl or whatever it was? I really enjoyed following all your work from all those places. Was there one interview or conversation you had that you felt like was specifically meaningful?
Well, that's a great question, because there was so many different people I talked to. I got a kick out of talking to Peyton Manning in Vegas, because we tackled so many topics, whether it was him being teammates with Rand or his viewpoint on Josh Dobbs or Hendon Hooker, and then even threw lobbed a Mike Keith question in there, which I got a kick out of his answer. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed, spending a lot of time with Rand in Mobile. I'd met him a couple of times in passing and kind of felt like I got to know him a lot better there. I saw Hendon Hooker both in Mobile and in Phoenix, so it was good to bump into him a couple of times. Tough to name the top one. Jeffrey Simmons, I thought, was pretty insightful just about his conversation with Rand and just kind of his optimism moving forward. I caught up with Brett Kern and A.J. Brown, both in Phoenix, talked to Clark Hunt about Bud Adams and his potential, whether he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Yep. Talked to, obviously Taylor Lewan at great length about his future. I know that generated some conversation there, and then had a story about Chris Johnson, who was in Phoenix, and his friendship with Lindell, just how they continue to be friends, and kind of CJ pulling Lindell out of some really dark times. That was another one. So there were so many different conversations I had. I think it'd be tough to name one, but I think I just named a bunch of them, I guess.
Well, Jim, it's interesting in talking to Rand Carthon, and we really enjoyed getting to sit down with him in Mobile as well at the Senior Bowl. You can tell how well that guy relates to players and can get inside the mindset of players, obviously, since he was one. Specifically in that conversation with Jeffrey Simmons, too, don't you just kind of get the sense that he really does speak the language of those guys, just a pretty laid-back and kind of easy guy to talk to?
Yeah, I really do. I think that's a pretty good step, that Rand wanted to, and I talked to Derrick Henry, as well, and said he'd had a conversation with Rand. I think it's great he's reaching out, talking to some guys. And I thought, what Jeffrey said about him and his first impression of him was great. I think probably what I took more we know when talking to people about his past, it's maybe when I talked to a lot of the 49ers about him was George Kittle or Fred Warner or Trent Williams, Talanoa, Hufanga, Christian McCaffrey. Those guys are the ones that spent a lot of time with him in San Francisco. And, they talked a lot about him, not only just from the football perspective and just how, good of a football mind he is, but just how relatable he is, what a good person he is, just how he took an interest in their families and their children and their lives and trying to help make their career better. I think that's, I thought that was pretty insightful, guys who have really been with him over, some of them over the last 6 years. And I know there's a line there, Ramon probably can speak to this, about his past relationship with people in the front office. I mean, Rain's got some tough decisions to make. Moving forward, and he's going to be in a different spot now than he was even in San Francisco, where he certainly was involved in some of the big decisions, but wasn't, making the final decision. And again, Rand will work with Mike Vrabel, but Rand now is in a spot where he's going to have personal relationships with a lot of these guys, but at the same time, he's going to have to make tough calls on whether to keep guys around, and there are going to be times when he's going to have to say goodbye to players that he really likes and respects. And I think the thing about his personality and the way he treats people, from everybody I've talked to, he'll be able to navigate that well, during the course of his time as GM. But I think the human side of Rand is kind of what stood out to me from talking to a lot of people who've been around him.
And I think that's what's most interesting, too, because Will and I went through a little bit of a list of what tiers that teams were into, and it spoke a little bit about, just a franchise reset almost in a sense, or at least take a step back. And I think that's what they are a little bit with running back and probably quarterback decisions that's got to be made, because Rand is, not really attached to anybody. Do you expect any type of big movement like this, in your own personal opinion, to kind of elevate this team a little bit quicker?
Yeah, it's hard to say just because I get asked a lot about his tendencies or what I think he's going to do here or what he's done in past drafts that maybe some clues. And the reality is, we don't know because he's never been in this spot before. And so you can't really judge his tendencies. He obviously, you're looking at the Titans cap situation and looking at certain players who are scheduled to make a lot of money. I mean, he probably has no choice in some of those cases to make those moves. As far as what happens at quarterback and running back, I mean, I don't get the sense from him, and don't get the sense from his conversation with Derek that that's something they're looking to do now. Quarterback is different, and we'll have to see how this one plays out. I don't think you have to do anything, but obviously, you got some options, and I think some other things will happen first.
And that's the other question too, is just the quarterback situation. Everybody's seen the rumors and the circulations of everything surrounding Tannehill and former Titans coaches being at other organizations and whatnot. The question I have though is, if you're going to make a reset and not draft a quarterback, what do you do with a guy like Jordan Love? Do you think there's ever a possibility for a contract, a trade, or, just some capital given up for a young guy that, some people think have that type of potential to start for a franchise?
I mean, I think so, but I think you got to be 100% sure that guy, you believe that person is going to be able to do it. And, I think that's quite a leap because I don't think, I think you're not going to get them for cheap.
Right.
So that's why I would have pause there. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do is make a bold move, give up a lot, set your franchise back. I mean, look what happened with Russell Wilson. And we get, again, Jordan Love and Russell Wilson are in a completely different situation. But, that bold move that the Broncos made, I think, is easy to question right now after just 1 year. As far as how much you gave up for him. So if you start trying to do that with a young guy, like it's going to be a franchise-altering move, you better be right.
Yeah. Jim Wyatt, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Jim, the Titans had Chad Brinker as assistant general manager. What are the Titans getting in him specifically? How important is a guy like this specifically in the salary cap situation that the Titans are in right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and the Titans have had a very valuable guy in Vin Marino who remains on staff that's kind of worked through that. I think I'm curious myself just to see maybe what roles look like moving forward. I think with Chad, I think what is so valuable about him is he's done, as Rand said himself, he's kind of touched every facet of the personnel department. He's worked in pro personnel, college, cap management, analytics. So he's kind of a jack of all trades there, and just how responsibilities are divvied up and maybe what things look like moving forward. I don't know that I know that yet. I haven't met Chad and I haven't talked to Rand specifically about what that's going to look like moving forward, but I know from talking to people around the league, because as you guys know, this kind of started filtering out, last week, and I happened to be in Phoenix and talked to people who've been around him, familiar with him, and they had great things to say about him. Yeah. So he's a great piece to add to the front office, no doubt.
That's the other question too. Is Vrabel has kind of assembled an interview group of OCs on his roster. What do you think is the brain trust behind hiring coaches that are in that position on this staff now? Coach London being one of those guys. How do you say his name? Austin from Alton from Denver. They've gone very offensive with trying to get offensive minds on this side of the Titans ball.
Yeah, and I think everybody's just curious to see, how Tim Kelly's offense might look compared to what it looked like last year. I think it's very clear that Mike Vrabel and some of the things he's done is wanting to enhance and build up that, side of football, and having people in place who can work together and bring some new ideas to the coaching staff. And I think that's what you got in several of these moves. And I think just like Tim Kelly worked with Todd Downing last year, I think some of the new hires are going to work and consult with Tim Kelly moving forward as he takes the reins. So I think he's built and he's done some shuffling as you guys know, on the staff. I think that's easy to question some of those decisions at surface level, but Mike Vrabel has a plan, and I think the big picture of it is to get as many people that have as many different ideas of philosophies in there and figure out what's best for the football team. But we got to figure out what the personnel is going to look like as well.
Jim, when you spend time in Phoenix and spend time around that Kansas City Chiefs team after that Super Bowl victory, what does this Titans team take away from that Kansas City team? What lessons do you think this team could learn from them? Obviously, having Patrick Mahomes helps a little bit, but what do you feel like the Titans can take away from them in order to take that next step forward in 2023?
Yeah, the quarterback is definitely special, but then I think the speed element of it is, and Mike Vrabel talked about that even before the Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl. When the Titans season ended, that's one thing he has hit on several times is the need for speed. So you got to get faster. I thought the coaching in that game was very apparent, how Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and everybody that's involved in getting players open. Again, you got to have a skill set to do that as well, but it's very clear to me watching that game is the Chiefs, they're, schemed a lot of things open, and they had players that when they got the football in space, they could run. I think just watching, the Chiefs a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl in Tampa and seeing how Patrick Mahomes had to run for his life then and got beat up and how that game went, I thought there was a chance that this game against the Eagles would look the same. But because A, their offensive line is better, B, their receivers again can get open. The coaching was great. I think all those lessons are you learn, but I think it starts with just how much the Chiefs have improved up front, and the Titans have got to do the same.
Well, Jim, enjoy the offseason. Enjoy some time in Nashville away from not traveling everywhere around the country. And enjoy, by the way, the run your Vanderbilt Commodores are going on the hardwood right now, because y'all have got it pretty good right now between that and baseball starting tomorrow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate it didn't start the season any well. They'd be really looking like they're putting themselves in position to maybe even make the tournament. But they've got some games they lost back in November, December that may come back to bite them. But they keep playing like they played the last, couple of weeks, then maybe they can stay hot and find a way to get in. But that's definitely been reason to give you a little bit of optimism there.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Jim Wyatt, our guest at J Wyatt Sports on Twitter is where you can find him. Appreciate the time as always.
Appreciate it, Jim.
Okay, you guys have a good rest of the week. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There's Jim Wyatt with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline and giving us good insight, Ramon, on the price of a young quarterback that you would possibly trade for like Jordan Love.
It's going to be sticky, man, but it's sight unseen, though, in those situations. I mean, getting a quarterback is almost like, buying a house here in Nashville a couple years ago. You just pay for it before you even see it.
Telling me.
Yeah, I don't think we want to live that life, though, Will. I get it. I do. That'd be kind of unsettling if it doesn't work out, though.
Yeah, because the differences between that and trading for Ryan Tannehill when you did.
Yeah.
A heck of a lot of the price is a lot bigger. I forgot how to English there for a minute.
Cheaper there.
The price is a lot bigger for a guy with the untapped potential who is less proven, but has a higher ceiling in a Sam Howell or a Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Or Brock Purdy.
Oh, I thought we was going to bring this up in some capacity. The Justin Fields conversation.
We will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get to that for sure on Justin Fields potentially being available. Talk about a high price.
That changes a lot right there.
It does. It definitely does. 615-737-1045, our final call for phone calls. I'll give you a little preview of our show coming up tomorrow. Got a good little Friday show planned for the people tomorrow.
We brought it together pretty good.
We brought it together pretty well.
Yeah, we did.
With the help of the big Ragu and the best producer in the world.
Sometimes we just do.
Nothing else to say. One final segment next. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Today on the show, we learned to never call the Steelers black and yellow to Ramon Foster.
Absolutely not, unless you whiz with a platinum hit.
It's yellow.
It's gold.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage
All right.
Doors. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer,
All
who's
right,
going to
Ramon.
back up Ramon.
You couldn't make a song with black and gold, black and gold.
Ramon.
No, you couldn't do it.
I hate to say this, because I'm going to have family members who are going to kill me.
Oh, my God.
Uh-oh.
It's been called black and gold for literally decades. It's black and yellow.
Yeah.
Gold.
You know what?
Gold is what the Saints and the Niners wear.
And Vanderbilt.
You're
on fan base probation for about 5 minutes, okay? You're on fan base probation.
10. I'll take 10 minutes.
I'll get 10 minutes, sir. Talk to me too.
All right.
Yep. You know what? I'll make an admission to you.
Yeah.
Nashville Predators are also yellow.
Of course. What do they say they are?
Gold.
Yeah.
They say they're gold?
They're
And I've got
very
and I've got another one for you.
Who?
Even though I like them very much and I have season tickets. Nashville, that's not gold.
Nah.
That's yellow.
Yeah.
Nashville SC?
Yeah, it's not
Your
gold.
C went out when you said Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah. Huh. No, it's black and gold traditionally. Okay. But I get Wiz made it more popular by saying black and yellow.
But it's actually yellow. It's not gold. Even though it's been called that since at least the 70s.
I can't wait to
Nashville
talk
SC
to your
has
dad about
had
this.
Oh, my dad couldn't give two shakes about that.
Oh,
my
I thought
mom
you was about
will
to
be
go there.
Go in a different direction.
No, that's why I knew what I was saying.
Best producer in the world doesn't slip up.
Man, he ever slips
His
up
computer
like
will slip up. He will not slip up.
Not slip up.
That's right.
Computer's still not working right.
Is it not early?
It's got a slowed response because
Technology.
here's an example. I'm going to push the button. Oh, that one worked on time. Perfect.
Lovely.
All right.
Yeah, handsome and all.
So whatever latency we had just went away.
What about the Kelsey one?
Oh, that's on the other computer. Hold
So
on.
the other computer was one.
Gotta slide over
Hold on.
Hold up.
in that big studio.
Hold on.
Still talking.
Oh.
All right now.
All right now.
It didn't even sound like him.
It doesn't. He was trying.
No, but the Preds are very yellow. The Preds are too yellow, man.
The two yellow?
It's a little too yellow.
This is kind of like we're having a Panzika Preds minute at the end of the show.
Because
like
the
what
thing
happens
is,
to the Buck Rising
back in the
show.
day when they put the gold towels on there on the seats.
It's okay.
Well, but the problem is if you had a TV that the color wasn't great on the TV, I'm not going to tell you what it looked like. You can figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
It was,
Well,
it
but
was
it-
no fam.
I liked it as an accent to the Navy.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
agreed.
when the helmets were still Navy.
And I'm actually one of the few people. Hot take time. Hot take.
We need to have like a hot take sound.
Hot takes.
Hot take.
Yeah. No, hit the all right. Hit the all right button.
An urgent news
let's do this
bulletin
one.
from
Hot take. I didn't mind the mustard uniforms the Predators wore for years.
Those
You
are
didn't.
They were outstanding.
I liked the mustard uniforms,
Yes.
and I liked the alternate logo.
Shake, that's a lukewarm take. That's not even hot.
Riddle me this. They were founded in 98. Why didn't they pair up with the Titans to actually get the same color scheme?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because Will knows stuff like this.
I know.
This is why he got the job.
Oh, it was more than that, too.
Because I'm delightful.
Well, it's one of
He's
the
also
reasons.
known as a sex symbol around her, too.
Wow. That's a statement.
Celebrating birthdays today.
That's true.
Yeah, yay.
We are. The city flag of Nashville is yellow and blue.
Huh.
I'm serious. That's also why Nashville SC, I believe, went that direction.
All right now.
That's new to me, Will. That's pretty
I didn't know that.
phenomenal.
City
not
flag
know
of
that.
Nashville are those colors.
All right.
I'm a fact check you here.
No, it's true. You can look it up. I'm right.
Ramon once wore a uniform that was part of the logo of the city of Pittsburgh, and it was a little rough.
I mean,
No, those were, the bumblebees were rough.
I actually
I
like
remember
the
those.
bumblebee. Stripes were good.
Nah, it wasn't slimming for you.
Will,
bro.
you are 100% correct.
It's mainly blue, but it has like a little yellow accent, which is what the Preds originally were. You also know why they were called the Predators, right?
No,
there you go.
I do not. The saber-tooth tigers.
There was like
What, hair?
a fossil found on the footprint of
I knew that.
the arena when it was built.
Was it really? No, for real, for real.
Oh yeah,
Like they were digging up
there was
and
like fossils were
Yeah,
found.
as in forever, ever.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
that's where is it at?
And I think they also found in the AT&T building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where the heck is it at?
Well, what do you mean?
Where's the fossil
Where's
at
the
now?
I don't know.
They don't have it on display? Oh, they're missing. I'd pay to see that. I'd pay $2 to see that fossil.
So the jersey.
Yeah, I would. Y'all are missing out on marketing here, y'all.
I still own a Preds jersey that it's a double XL, so it's like a dress on me.
I'm just going to say that you've never
You
been
can like
that big
tuck
to
it in
be
the
a
size,
double
and it's not
XL.
that bad. But it's a double X, but it's a mustard yellow Preds jersey that is signed by, we think, the 04 roster. Because when we moved away to Knoxville in 05, then we came back. And we won a door prize at like my dad's new work at the game. And it was at the end of the 05 season, I want to say. Yeah, because we moved back summer of 05. So it was the 2004-05 team.
Huh. Did not realize this, Will.
And that was Talking Preds.
That was Talking Preds.
Fun
We need to
show
go to
today.
a game, man.
We do need to go to a game. Fun show today. Fun show tomorrow.
Big show.
Ryan Clark will join us. Your guy Willie Colon will join us. ESPN's Bill Connolly talks some college football with us. Tons to discuss as Kayla will continue her vacation and we will continue our work week at 6 a.m. And Ramon Foster continues to help you by giving you words of wisdom.
We will provide bail money, Kayla, if you hear this, okay? We'll nickel and dime it, but you must remember on your time off, your Twitter fingers and your mic are always hot.
We'll see ya.